Well, good evening to all of you joining us on this Marcy Week show on the first day of April. You know what they normally say about April the 1st. I don't endorse it anymore, but I think there's some people who still talk about it being April Fool's Day, but it's the first day of April and it's Monday. It's the first day after our Easter holiday. And I trust you all are hearing me okay. If you are, just give me a notification in your chat that you're hearing me all right. We just want to make sure that all of our technical aspects are clear for the night. So if you're hearing me good, just make a mention of it in the chat. I'd be happy if you do that. Just making sure my volumes are up and everything is up and running good. Are you hearing me all right? Just let me know. But let me take this opportunity to wish all of you a happy Easter. It's been a great weekend, a busy weekend for us. And of course, as it would be for Thank You, Victorious Queen. Welcome as well. Yes, thank you, Gilbez. Good to be here with you tonight. Rhonda Paris, God bless you. Marcia, all of you. Mr. B, yes, Remy M, 6070. So good to have you, Sandra Franklin. My goodness, FX Trading BB. Welcome to all of you, the loyal opposition, and a happy Easter to every single one of you. Of course, you would expect that from me as a evangelical Pentecostal religious minister. And of course, this being Easter weekend, you would expect at least one scriptural verse from me, because this is our celebration, our weekend celebration, probably the biggest event in the calendar of Christianity. And so, I want to start off tonight with a verse of scripture that caught my attention, because we are hearing so much about transparency, accountability. We're hearing so much about honesty. We're hearing, all of these are major talking points in our dialogue and in our conversations. And it's really important that we really have people who speak the truth. Now, this program has been accused of going up and down. I don't know how a program could go up and down anyhow. The country, and we are spreading misinformation and all of that. Look, we have brought evidence. I listened to the weekend program, and my God, I went like, are these people listening to us? I mean, you have all of the proof, you have the legislation, you have the documentation, everything. This is not a program that deals in misinformation and rumor mongering. And we only deal here in truth. And each one of us is committed to that. And so I want to start this evening, if I can. There's a little verse in the scripture that tells me something. I thought it was very interesting when I read it. And I thought I would begin this evening with it. It says this: don't let any evil talk come out of your mouth. Say only what will help to build others up and meet their needs. Then what you say will help those who listen. Wow. When I read that, I said, thank God for the MWS, the Marcia Weeks Show. And so we welcome you all the way from Philadelphia, Owen Hines and Genetha Callender. Good evening. Thank you so much. And Easter blessings to your home. God bless you. Rhonda, again to you too. Nat Grant, and oh my goodness, and Easy D, and all of you that are joining us every night. 358 already. And it's what? 4 minutes after 7. Wow. I mean, this is just amazing. And we really appreciate the support that you give to this show. And I know that you all are always on this show because you hear truth, you hear the facts. We are learning a lot of things. I thank God for those persons like Mr. Glenn Murray and Mrs. Maxine McLean. I thank God for people like Caswell Franklin and our young upcoming political star, Mr. Kemar. I have to make sure I get the last name right. So I'll just
Stuart.
stop at Stuart. Yeah, there he is. And of course, Madam of the Chair, Marcy, as well. And good to have you starting with me this evening. Lovely to have you here. And we'll be
Thank
hearing more
you.
from you in just a few minutes. But we want to welcome all of you, the loyal opposition. And I thank God for what we have accomplished in this show, how much attention we have brought to the issues. And I tell you, I was listening to the show last night, and I tuned in while I was doing a few other things. I tuned in, and I could not believe what I was hearing. And as a matter of fact, I had messaged Marcia because I had, it's leaving. I had a very bad cough, very, very bad cough. I could hardly talk, and the cold, which I'm still dealing with. But after I heard the show last night, I messaged Marcia and I said, I am going to be doing the show with you tonight. And I didn't mind how my voice was. I said, I really have to be here to give support to the relevant information, truth, and exposure that is coming as a result of this show. There are things that I heard last night that I believe a lot of Barbadians may not have been aware of. And on the basis of the numbers I saw, and in marketing, we always I used to, I learned this from some of my marketing geniuses, that whenever you see a number, the influence of that number is actually 7 times greater than the number that you see. So last night I saw over 1,200, and I thought to myself, okay, good, we're getting through to about 8,400 people, because and it's proven, because when you do go back to YouTube to review the show, you can see, I think in one instance, well in excess of 10,000, 11,000 views on several of the shows, 8,000, 7,000. Excuse me, I think on one, 18,000 was on another, so my extrapolations were correct, so that while we may see 1,200 here, in truth and in fact, it's going to be viewed by over 10,000 people. And I'm praying that those 10,000 people are Barbadians, because there is so much happening that we heard last night with regards to the Jaws. I call it the Jaws River fiasco. And then, of course, this whole matter of the steel homes, which I'm sure we're going to delve into tonight. That was another. I just hung my head, and Marcia, because I thought to myself, this information is being viewed internationally. And I thought to myself, what people must be thinking about those who are behind or who are in the administrative positions to be making these decisions that we are having to come out and reveal, because the brutal truth is, no construction legitimately can occur in Barbados without the consent of the tongue planning. I think it's changed, but I'm an oldster. Tongue and planning permission, without tongue planning permission. And the person who is responsible for the tongue planning is the Prime Minister. And so, especially on larger projects, on internationally funded projects, on projects with major investors, she must have knowledge of what they're doing. She must be one of the people who is going to sign off on it and give consent and so on. And so, as I listened to realize that what was being engaged was a matter of accessibility for an area that has been historically riveted in the history of Barbados. I have walked that area several times. For those of you who may not know, my father is from Bathsheba, Rung Rock, and I know the worrels down there quite well. Bonita Bar, and the bar right behind the Rung Rock as you come down. Before all of that park was done up there, I used to come just above the park and sit on the outside to have my hair cut. Just up the hill was one of my family who was involved in fishing, and so we were there every weekend, and we would be getting our fish for the weekend and for the week and so on. So I'm very, very familiar with that entire area, and of course, where the old train track ran, and I thought to myself, this is insanity, this is madness. How are you divesting of some of these very strategic, and good night to you too from United Kingdom. My goodness, God bless you. How are you divesting with these very, very personal, very, what's the word I should use here? Marcia, help me with a word. You know, when it's like from the family, you know, you have these records that, you know, through history. Sentimental, that's the word I'm looking for.
Okay.
These sentimental memoirs and so on that so many of us have grown up with and carry memories with, very critically important memories that we even share with our children and our grandchildren. And it makes me wonder, do the people in the administration in this country genuinely have the interests of the people of Barbados at heart?
Yes.
Because if you do,
Yes.
then you should be helping to protect our national treasures. What do you think, Marcia?
Most definitely. I'm listening to you and hearing your passion. Let me first of all just say good night, good evening to Barbados and Mr. Dr. Ferdinand. I love to call
That's
you
fine.
Dr. Ferdinand. It's a pleasure being on with you tonight. You know, I'm sitting here and just you know, amazed at your passion. And this is why I say to Barbadians all the time, we will not believe the lie that we are
No,
passive. You don't
no.
hear any passivity coming out of the Reverend tonight. You're hearing fire. You're hearing like a Jeremiah Wright, or there's another one that I'm listening to. I'm another preacher in the U.S. or like Martin Luther King. Huh? Because sometimes, you know, we think that people who are in the church cannot be doing any kind of activism or agitation. But you hear the Reverend is talking about tonight the injustices that's happening to us in Barbados, the level of you know, opaqueness. Is that a word? Opaqueness is a word.
Yeah, I think so. But even so, you know, let's add it. I mean,
Yeah,
they've added
but it's
other
a lack
things
of
to the dictionary.
transparency
Yeah.
and all of that. And tonight, you know, in tonight's show, we're going to delve a bit into that. We're going to look at the steel houses, as you said. I see Miss McLean is all ready to go, and we have a lot of research for you tonight. We seek to bring education to you so that whatever decisions that you make, you can make informed decisions. And so we are very, very happy for everybody who's on, and it is a pleasure being on. But you know, we haven't had our anthem as yet.
Not as
And I
yet.
think,
And let's go to that national anthem.
yeah, let me get it ready. Let me get it ready for everybody. And we, you know, of course, you know, we want them to keep sharing and liking. Yes.
You know, I there's one thing I will say in that national anthem, Marcia, and I always smile when I see you run up from the back of the crowd with the flag waving in your hand. And I said, look, there goes Marcia. There goes Marcia.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
get that national anthem and let's honor and respect.
Ah,
Oh
oh my
yes.
God.
Oh my mama. Oh my goodness. I tell you, Marcia, you know, I thank God for my country. I really, really, really do. I thank God for Barbados. I thank God for all we as a people have accomplished. Not a single person, a people have accomplished. We thank God for leadership that tends to be out front for us. But at the end of the day, it's the people of Barbados. It's we who determine our future. And I like that, strict guardians of our heritage, firm craftsmen of our fate. And you know, a thought, a disturbing thought went through my mind this afternoon, you know, Marcia. In the midst of all of the attempts of development and all of these things, what elements are we inviting into our country as a result that could be as far reaching as oligarchs and other diabolical groupings. I
Yes.
put it that way because we are now reaching into countries that we have not traditionally engaged. And I am just hoping and praying to Almighty God that these elements that often accompany, these persons that move and live in your country, and they bring in other elements with them that tend to destabilize one's society, and you know crushes the
Hmm.
history and the traditions and the culture of our country. And I was really concerned. I really,
Yes.
really began to feel a sense of concern.
Yes, yes. You know, Dr. Ferdinand, there's a video that someone sent to me before we delve into what's happening in Barbados. Want to look at this just quickly for a few minutes. Look at parts of this video from Nigeria. And why
Mm,
I think this is important, Dr. Ferdinand, I would love to hear your comments on this video, because if this happens in Barbados, we cannot have this show. We
that's
cannot have
correct.
the
That's
cybercrime.
correct.
This is about the cybercrime bill. I wanted to start with this first tonight, people, because if this bill sees the light of day, right now they say that it is with a committee, parliamentary committee, and that they are reviewing, etc. And I am saying that if this bill sees the light of day, this is what will happen in Barbados. The bill has the power to do this. Can you go ahead and play it for us? Thank you.
Now let's turn to Nigeria, where a tomato puree review has landed a woman in jail. I'm not making this up. A woman put up a Facebook post. She complained about a tomato mix. She said it was too sweet, and the Nigerian police decided to arrest her. She now faces multiple cases, up to 7 years in jail and a fine of 5 billion naira. That's about 3 million US dollars. So $3 million and 7 years in jail, all for a bad review of tomato mix. How is this kind of puree persecution possible? Apparently, Nigeria's Cybercrime Prohibition Act brooks no quota. Before we get to the legal details, let's look at how we got here. What happened? The alleged crime took place last September, on September 17th. That's when our reviewer put up her Facebook post. Her name is Chioma Okoli. She's 39 years old, a mother of three, and presently expecting her fourth child. She's an entrepreneur, a small scale importer of children's clothes. She lives in Nigeria's financial hub, Lagos. On September 16th, a day before she put up the post, she went and bought the tomato mix. Her usual brands were out of stock, so she decided to try a different one. Before using the puree, she decided to taste it, and clearly she was not a fan. So she took to Facebook to air her grievances. She claimed the puree was too sweet, that there was too much sugar in it. And she asked her Facebook followers for their opinion. Now, this set off a furious online debate, apparently with the puree maker's relative, or at least an ardent fan, someone calling themselves Blessing. Now,
Okay.
Blessing
All right,
began the
let's take a
accursed
pause
chain of
for YouTube's
retribution.
sake. We
They
have to
told
pause.
our reviewer not.
Yeah, we have to pause for YouTube's sake
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we don't want to play all of it. What are your thoughts about this, Dr. Ferdinand?
Well, just imagine, Marcia, that she's expressing a view, a personal view, and I'm going to try to initially begin with her specific area. She's cooking. And in the context of what of our cooking and our diets and so forth, we're used to certain tastes, hear me, tastes. Oh dear, that's a new word. We're used to certain tastes. And so you go and try something new, and it doesn't really match what you want. And she's expressing that on her Facebook page. That is her opinion. So what has happened now is that Nigeria has censored people's opinions. So you can't say what you think. You only what is acceptable by, I would imagine, the authorities there. Somebody must have raised a objection to it. And it is unfortunate, Marcia, because that analysis that she gave could have led, if it was taken in the right light, to an improvement in the product and maybe an increase in the retail sales of the product. But now what you're doing is you're trying to shut down legitimate criticism, if you want to call it that, critique, let's call it that. I believe that the food taster from Ratatouille would be in jail as well. I don't know if you managed to ever watch that movie, that animation. He would obviously be in jail as well. You know, absolutely ridiculous. But it sends a very serious message to us here in Barbados, because the cybercrime bill, within the context of several clauses carried in that bill, would result in the same thing happening to us here in Barbados. We could not express our opinion on matters such as what we will be dealing with tonight. We would not be able to come here and say, well, I don't agree with the Prime Minister's words or the Prime Minister's actions or the Prime Minister's engagements or the Minister of Housing, or I don't agree with Marcia and what she is wearing. And, I think that her colors are too colorful for the show. And, anything like that could land you 7 years in jail and up to $70,000 fine. Now, and I hope Barbadians are understanding this. This will happen across all media platforms, all of them: Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, Signal. I can't remember the name of the other one right now, but there's several others. You all know them. You couldn't even have a show like this, for that matter. And that's why we have to fight, Marcia. That's why this is a time of war. And I think I heard your guest last night, Nigel Newton, I believe he was talking about civil disobedience, standing up for what is right, because I hate to say it this way, things that are on the aspects of legislation are not necessarily right things. I mean, we're seeing this working out right now with the matter of the land use and sales and so forth. We couldn't come on this show with a bill like what is in Nigeria, Marcia, and speak in any objectionable manner to what is happening in St. Joseph, to what is happening in St. Lawrence Gap, to what is scheduled to happen and beginning to happen in Bridgetown. We couldn't do that. As a matter of fact, I couldn't even preach, Marcia. This is a stern warning for the pastors, ministers, and religious leaders who don't want to get up off of their backsides and hit the streets with us about this. You could not preach a gospel that would offend in any way, shape, or form on national or on any media platform under the threat of being sued or arrested and imprisoned. And you said something earlier, about persons, particularly religious leaders. Marcia, when I read the Old Testament of the Bible, it shows significant involvement with the prophets and the priests, with the king and the politics of their nation. As a matter of fact, there's a reference about the sons of Issachar, who were very religious people, but they were actually people who were well schooled and understood the politics and finances of Israel, and they got involved in it. And even, if people were to follow the life of Jesus himself, you would discover that his ministry was only 3 years. And prior to that, he was involved in business. He looked after his father's carpentry business after his father Joseph passed away. He looked after his father's business. So you
Yes.
have a person who is very well informed on business, politics, all of these different aspects, much of which he referred to in his discourses, investments, and all of those aspects. So I think it is necessary for many of our religious leaders to what should I say, get up off of their laurels
Yes.
and begin to get very serious about
Mhm.
standing up against the unrighteousness in
Yeah.
our country.
I agree with you so much. And Vihoy is saying, Vihoy is in the diaspora. She's saying we now have to be proactive and vigilant in maintaining our freedoms, and that is one of
Yes.
that's the reason that I brought this to the show, because I want you to see that there is a cybercrime bill that is in motion, set already in motion in Nigeria. And there is a 39-year-old woman, a mother,
Yeah.
who is going to, I mean, for all intents and purposes, all based on the law, she will be in prison for 7 years, which is just like our cybercrime bill, the proposed
Yes.
cybercrime bill, the bill
Yes.
that has been passed in both houses, mind you. So remember that, Barbados, and I want Barbados to understand that unless we put our 2 feet down on the ground, flat footed on the ground, and tell them hell no, that cybercrime bill in its present form must die a natural or unnatural death, whatever you call
Yes.
it,
Yes.
but it must die.
It
The
must be
cybercrime
recalled.
bill must die. If the cybercrime bill pushes back his head up in the next month or month and a half, the next 6 weeks that's left, because they said it 3 weeks. I tell you, the show that we had last night that was educating the people of Barbados, we would be locked up for 7 years in prison. Everybody that was on that show, every single one that was on the show. And I'm very passionate about this tonight. And I want Barbadians to understand that. And when you see
Sometimes.
the marches, give me a
No,
moment
no, go
there,
ahead.
Brett.
Go
When
ahead.
you see the marches, you get out there and you join the marches. Every moment that you have to speak out, Barbados, because they're trying to take your voice, and they're trying to do it with the cybercrime bill. Can you imagine somebody going to jail for sharing their review on a tomato
On a
paste?
tomato sauce, a tomato paste. I mean, and
And
not only that.
that is why I am saying to Barbadians tonight, Barbados,
Wake up. Wake
listen,
up. Wake up.
listen to me, Barbados. Do
Wake
not
up.
let that cybercrime bill live. It must die. Very, very simple. I
Yeah.
just have this I want to read from Nigel Newton. Nigel Newton, he says, this is his writing, and it's not yet a book, it's a manuscript at this point. And he sent it to me to read, and it says, he's saying, brother and sister Barbadians, our beloved homeland is in mortal danger. Our survival as a free, peaceful, just, and democratic nation requires vigilance and decisive action. I urge you, wake up to the devastation before you. Stand up against the catastrophe being imposed upon you, and take charge of your destiny before it is too late. This is from Nigel C. Newton. He's the author of this manuscript in my hand, which I'm hoping, my prayer is that this become national reading for all of us here in Barbados. You were saying something, Dr. Ferdinand, before Ms. McLean comes in.
Yeah, no, what I was saying, is what was even more disappointing to me was that she is pregnant. She is arrested as a pregnant mother for a opinion on tomato. Well, I call it tomato sauce. I mean, I'm not a cook, but a tomato flavor or whatever it is, and she's pregnant. And it means that if that's the case and she's going to go to jail for 7 years, her child will be born in jail. I mean, this is insanity and nothing short of insanity. And Marcia, the pandemic was used as a testing ground for all of this, to see how citizens would respond to being restricted in their movements, in their activities, in their consumptions, and etc., their spendings and all those kind of things. It was used as a testing. And they have admitted to this. The World Economic Forum have. I have watched videos from the World Health Organization that have indicated that they are prepared to suspend the United Nations Charter of Human Rights during the next pandemic. That is the insanity that this world has sunk to, and it's made its way into Barbados. And I agree with you that cybercrime bill must die right now. It mustn't even come back. It must die now. And I'm going to ask every single Barbadian to write their constituency representative, inundate them with letters, inundate the call-in shows with your calls, and let it be known this will not happen in this country. We are here to protect our future.
Absolutely not. That won't happen. I see Mr. Franklin is here. Ms. McLean is on. She's going to present early tonight based on just how the show goes. But I still want Mr. Franklin to give a quick welcome, a quick greeting, and a quick comment on this thing that is happening in Nigeria. It's 7 years, Mr. Franklin, the same 7 years. But go ahead, sir, just quickly.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm smiling tonight. Last night I couldn't smile, Marcia. Last night I was trying to get one across my face, but it would not come off when I heard what was happening.
Yeah.
And Joseph.
Yeah.
It's horrendous. I lay down at night and I go to sleep right like a baby. Last night I didn't go to sleep like a baby. I took a little time out because these things are worrying me. This whole going to keep people in Barbados. But anyhow, good night, everyone. I am happy again. I try to put that on me because I don't want it to wear me down, because that has the potential to wear me down. You cannot abuse people like that.
Yeah.
And that show resonated, Marcia, because I had a few calls. I went to work today and people stopped me on the road to ask about it and to give me information. I can't use the information here, but I can ask some questions about it. But we'll talk after Maxine.
Yes. We will talk, and you can always WhatsApp me, because Heather has some stuff she's going to deal with. It might be the same thing. So send me the messages, okay? Let's go to Miss McLean, because after Miss McLean, then we're going to delve in that again, because we have an architect that is always coming on tonight, and he's going to compare the Town and Country Planning and the Planning and Development Act. And I think that is very, very important. Yes.
Well, I am just blown away by Maxine's attire. That is gorgeous, and I hope I can get a matching one of those. I absolutely love that.
By the way,
wow!
I would be able to accessorize it, because one of the loyal opposition bought a necklace for Maxine. She bought one for you, Marcia, and one
none
for
for me. She didn't buy one for
you. She didn't give me that neither.
Actually, you can't see my accessories, but here's one.
She left them at the office, so I have to deliver them.
That is a beautiful print. I'm sorry to digress a little bit.
I bought this in a market in Panama from a young man who was running his mother's stall. So
beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
It's like Marcia, I have a liking for things that are African fabrics and so on.
Well, in this day and age, we can switch so quickly. So whenever you leave, if I'm still left here, I wouldn't mind if you would leave that in the will for me.
We can turn it into a shirt.
No. I don't want you to wear no dresses, Freddie.
Notice what I said, Caswell. You can turn it into a shirt.
Thank God. Welcome. Good to have you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Miss McLean, you know, we're as Mr. Franklin said, we're smiling a little bit more tonight, but I'm
We
on here
have to.
very militant inside
Oh
tonight.
yes, so am I.
I,
We
I'm
have to.
very
Otherwise,
militant.
we would really be, our blood
Yeah.
pressures would go through the roof.
Yeah,
You
so
know,
Mr.
and
McLean, you've done some research, and I just want to give
yes,
you that opportunity to present to us about the steel houses. I
yes,
know there's a pun on that word, but we are talking
steel.
about STEEL, okay?
Yes,
Steel houses.
yes, steel
So
frame houses.
yeah,
Yeah, and I
steel
just want
frame
to
house.
remind you and the others that we actually had a discussion about these on the 24th of November last year. Remember, we
Yes,
were discussing it back then. Since
Yes.
then, and we identified all the problems. I don't know much has happened in terms of completing those. My intelligence tells me, information that came to me was that on the night of following the reply of the leader of the opposition, there was an urgent effort to move because those was that was one of the issues he raised, and I'm told that there was a flurry of activity moving some of those. You remember we had photos showing the grass growing through some of the frames, etc. Now, since then, I think one of the key things that we would have had would have been the report, a special audit done by the Auditor General,
yes.
and its special audit on the acquisition and construction of steel frame housing units. And I read this. I must tell you that I really have to dissect it even more, because the more you
Yep.
read, the more concerns I
Yep.
have.
The more steel you see.
Well, that is it. I mean,
More
it's
stealing.
steel, and I want quickly to a couple of things. One, as we know, these houses were supposed to be done in response to the impact of a hurricane. We had
Hurricane
Hurricane
Elsa.
Elsa, um,
Yes.
in 2021. Interestingly enough, prior to, and I'll just read quickly from the report because I don't want people to think I'm making things up. It says the use of prefabricated steel frame housing units were initially proposed to the National Housing Corporation by a Chinese firm, the overseas affiliate to the entity, and the report does not give the names of the companies. In response to NHC request for expressions of interest advertised on the 21st of June 2021, just prior to the passage of Hurricane Elsa. The objective of the expressions of interest was to source, quote, suitably qualified persons to enter into a joint venture agreement for the construction of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom, hurricane resilient, affordable, and attractive houses. Okay. Now that was something that happened. Hurricane Elsa came, and then, and I read from the report again, in an effort to address the emergency situation and hasten the process of procurement, the Cabinet of Barbados, on the request of the Ministry of Housing, invoked Rule 239, that's Rule 239 of the Financial Management and Audit Financial Rules 2011 to engage the entity. Now, that rule, and I'm not going to spend a long time, we can go back and look at it sometime and read it. In emergency situations, where it is felt absolutely necessary, the cabinet can make a decision to forego the normal procedure of tendering to deal with emergency situations. However, certainly in the cabinet that I sat, colleagues were very careful to provide solid information and analysis to avoid accusations of the misuse of the rule. And I can tell you that there are often significant discussions because we understand the responsibility that cabinet was assuming, and the risk and the need. Well, let me put it positively: the need to provide ironclad justifications by and large. So all of that happened. So the government did not. They went straight to this entity, and I want to remind us of the time frame. 2021, we were still in, I believe, the throes of the COVID-19 pandemic. The global logistic arrangements were turned upside down. And so you had these kind of problems. So remember, we're talking about emergency housing. We want to have people's houses were destroyed. And the argument was, we're going to get you a house that is hurricane resistant. They were talking about that before the hurricane came. And they supposedly had a solution. They had an option and so on. But of course, it is coming from China, and we know some of the challenges. There are a couple of things that happened because of COVID. Shipping costs went up. The cost of shipping containers double, triple, whatever, maybe even quadruple. Now, having said that, I'm going to go through some information here. According to this contract, it was to be executed within 4.5 months. And it was signed on August 11, 2021, from what the documents say. So you can add 4 months to August, September, October, November, December, and that's 4, right? So that by the middle of January or so, people should have these houses available. So this was a contract between the Ministry of Housing and a Chinese company. Let me just rest that, my laptop, my tablet there. And the contract was to deliver 150 houses. Now, the total contract price, and I use total in inverted commas, but according to the documentation, they called it the total contract price, was $22.59 million. Now, I wish, and I presume that the Auditor General writing would be speaking in Barbados dollars unless he says otherwise, but I would caution any writer and so on to tell us, because we have seen where when we thought we were talking Barbados dollars, it was something else. But based on that 22.59 million Barbados dollars, I'm interpreting it to be the per unit cost by dividing by 150 was $150,600. However, in addition to this $150,600, you had additional costs because, and they said there was a 1.96 million for the provision of 120 40-foot containers. When you calculate that per container, it works out at an additional $16,333. So that's the 120, or if you work it out per house, in terms of these 150 houses coming in 120 containers, the container cost per house would have been $13,067. So if you work it per container, it is 16,000 plus. And if you stretch it in and did it over 150 instead. Now they tell you, and I don't know how to get these two numbers so close, but they told you that there was an additional shipping cost. Now, the cost, I'm not going to waste time. We can go back and start asking some more of these questions. So in addition to this container cost for 120 containers, which I thought that if you are negotiating, you would ask for a total price. But anyhow, these were additional costs. Somebody might have forgotten. I don't know how. But anyway, let me not, editorialize, so to speak. The additional cost was another $1.96 million of shipping costs. And when you then, of course, the identical thing per house would have been additional shipping costs of $13,067 per unit, right? So when you add the two of those, the per unit cost moved from $150,600 to $176,734. So you have the $150,600 plus the $13,067, and then the second one, so it comes up to that.
Maxine,
180.
hold a second. Containers, you pay for a container and you sell it back. So that should not be factoring into the cost. You think you're not going to keep the container, or you're not going to give it away?
Well, you normally don't. And I mean, I agree with you, but I'm just sharing these costs because they're kind of befuddling me. Let me put it that way.
Me too. That's why I cut you, because it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
But is she speaking about
mind you, sorry, it is a steel container.
Yeah.
So it's a steel container. It's steel.
Yeah,
So,
but is she? Are you speaking of the shipping costs per container, Marcia?
No. What I'm reading, what I've read, what I'm saying
Mhm.
is that when they set up, what the Auditor General found was
Right.
that there was a contract price of
Mhm.
22.59 million. And later on they said, but in addition to that, y'all have to pay for the containers that we ship in these houses that we charging you 22 point, let me say 22.6, or you can round to 23 million if you want. You now have to pay an additional 1.96 million, the price of 120 40-foot containers.
Okay.
So what that says to me is that you're putting the 150 frames, or the frames for the 150 houses, in
In the container.
120 containers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they
Okay.
say, in addition to paying for the container, which is the physical container, you now
Mhm.
have to pay to ship it. You got to buy a container
Yes.
for 13,000, and you
Yes.
got to turn around now and incur an additional equal amount of money
To ship it.
to ship, the 1.96 million. So when I
Yeah.
work them out per house, it comes up to 26,134
Mhm.
dollars, okay, per
Mhm.
house. That's not all. The company supplying the houses just brings them, and government now has to incur costs to erect the foundations for the house. They have to pay for the provision of wells, septic tanks, the plumbing services to make the connections to the wells. They have to pay for temporary electricity as they erect these, because obviously they're probably using electricity. They have to pay for water. They have to pay for construction workshops at the installation sites of the housing units. In the report, from what I've read, I did not see the cost for those services and those requirements. So understand that we have moved from 150 plus thousand to 176 plus thousand to some unknown figure for what I said, the provision of the foundation, the land to put the houses on. And so the question I would ask them, based on the stated cost, the information that we would have been given, those three categories of cost, and these, what then is the estimated cost per unit so far when we include that, because the information is not there. And I ask a question at this point because, as I said, the government also had to provide land. Now, remember that we are talking about the replacement of houses that were destroyed during Hurricane Elsa. And the question is, were all of those, or how many of those houses were on lands on which a replacement could be put? So in other words, what percentage of the houses perhaps had to move because the occupants of the destroyed house or houses, those occupants did not own the land, could not get permission to put a replacement on, because that is one of the considerations when I look at this in trying to figure out exactly what the plans were. So, so that was one of the first things that jumped out at you, that you had this solution, where the price seemed to have been escalating. But even then, I cannot see, based on those unknowns, that you could have incurred almost, because I did the calculation last night. I'm trying to remember. I think Caswell or somebody shared the number with me, that the cost overrun was 23, was it 23,000, 23
20
million,
million.
23 point something million.
23.64 million. Now,
Yes.
look at that in relation to, so it's almost 100%, because the houses were 22.59, and then you had 4, which is 26. It's just about 26 point something million outside of those other costs. So I am not sure that the cost, as I said, that category of unidentified or on for which no price tag was given, could be $23 million. And it is interesting, and I hope that people would take time to read what is listed in the report as detailed findings. For example, the Auditor General stated that there was no evidence that technical and financial assessments were done in relation to the project by the Ministry of Housing. For example, what he was talking about here, we are talking about steel frame houses. What technical analysis was there to demonstrate or to support the idea that the option that they were going with was in fact suitable to local conditions? The question he raised was what consideration would have been given to alternatives. And I remember I was looking at page 8 of the report. He spoke to this whole issue of the failure to provide information. And what I find interesting is the kind of, to me, unacceptable responses. They're saying, and this is the response, Ministry of Housing's response, the ministry that did not consider it unusual for the permanent secretary to accept the assessment report of the technical department of NHC, which is staffed with qualified professional engineers who are members of the Barbados Association of Professional Engineers and who undertake the necessary assessment of all proposals. Now, rather than tell me that, I thought that they would produce a document and say to the Auditor General, here is the report which supports the proper analysis and which constitutes the basis on which we went ahead with the project. But they are talking in terms that I describe them as not being definitive. The other thing that is important, and I only picked out a couple of these given our time constraints, colleagues, they argue that there was no evidence that a process of due diligence was conducted on the Chinese company. In other words, where's the evidence that you have done your homework and satisfied yourself that this company is one that can deliver on what it proposes to do, etc., and meet all the conditions? Now, it's interesting, and this is one point that I would note, because if I am not mistaken, in fact, I did check. The Minister of Housing at the time was Dr. William Duguid. And what I found interesting is that back in October 2021, when he was Minister of Housing, Land and Maintenance, he actually led a 3-day visit to Guyana, which, quote unquote, provided a platform for the sharing of information on the operations of the housing sectors in both countries. And I said to myself that this would have been an opportune time, because I am sure that if you signed a contract back in August 11th, September, October, 2 months later, I am sure that they might have realized that some things were not happening. Remember, this project was a 4.5 month to delivery. And I've raised it before and I raise it here again. If we had to do a review or an analysis or look at the profile of houses damaged, what kind of housing, what structures were there? Wooden houses for the main part, and that kind of thing. Now, you're going to Guyana, where we import lumber for housing construction, and so on. So when you see government sign off very quickly, having negotiated a month or so before the hurricane with a company to provide these hurricane resilient houses, and you use an emergency rule in our legislation. Why aren't you looking at maybe a couple options? We know, of course, I mean, merchants in Barbados were already crying out by then about the restrictions that we were having and so on. So really and truly, my colleagues and our audience, I suggest, because in 25-30 minutes, I can only highlight that the concerns that we had back in November, on November 24th, when the show discussed this matter, what we had there, those were some of the pictures that we saw, and I think some of the containers that cost $13,000 You know, if in fact that was the final price and so on, that we were concerned. And November, we now into about 4 months later, almost five, well, four, three and two, 5 months later, I am not sure that there's much more to show for it, except that we now have not the 20 something million, but 50 something $1 million to, on 150 houses, and really and truly little to show for it. The question is, where has this money gone? I raised the question earlier. From what I'm reading, I was asking whether there were any intermediaries in this process. I still put the question there because while the Auditor General's report is comprehensive, there may be some things that might be missed or whatever. And really and truly, the exercise did not deliver on its key objective, which was to get emergency housing in place for people who lost their houses. And the question really is, did they seriously look at alternatives which were closer by and which were more efficient money-wise and time-wise and safe enough for Barbadians to be properly housed? Now the question, and my final question is, what is the situation of those 150 households? And if people had to be moved in the interim between the hurricane and now if they have not been rehoused, what monies has the government spent, or we as taxpayers, what monies have we had to spend to accommodate those people? What is their situation? And I think I will pause there, colleagues, because this really is just one example of a level of wastage, and we will explore some more.
Thank you. I think this is a great once again, because you brought it to our attention in November, and here we are looking at, this is our millions of dollars here, guys, out here in grass. Somebody said it's not a cost overrun, but it's grass overrun, it's bush overrun. You know, and what is happening here, Dr. Ferdinand and Mr. Franklin, it's like you decide that you're going to build your house, and the house is going to cost you $500,000, and no, but you know, and you planned, you have all of your advisors and everybody, your lawyers, and you started the process, and then the house goes up 100%. Think about it. It does not even make sense. What kind of planning you could really have done? But let's hear from Dr. Ferdinand. Any thoughts? Any quick thoughts on Miss what was shared?
Well, Maxine, let me just say this to you. This is not the first time steel homes have been offered to the government. This is not the first time. I was working with Warren's Motors at the times when the husband of a member of the Caribbean Development Bank approached the Ministry of Finance with similar steel frame homes, went into the meeting and found a company owner who's now passed away in the meeting, claiming that they didn't have to import steel homes, that they could produce them here in Barbados. I don't know how many people remember a steel model set up out in front of the Digicel building or Warren's that we could have seen. So my first question would be, how does the pricing for that compare to what you are looking at in terms of importation? That's the first thing, because that's a local situation. Then you also have a U.S. Sourcing. And I must confess that many concerns have been raised with regards to Chinese material. My mind goes back to the serious ramifications and issues and health issues that arose with sheetrock in the United States that had to be ripped out of homes after they were built and developed and thrown away, that had come in from the Chinese market. So that's the next question I would want to engage, the quality of the steel being used. And of course, I think we have quite capable people here in Barbados in the industry, in the steel industry, that could assess the value of that material. The other question that you spoke about alternatives, and I remember speaking with someone in government concerning a Brazilian alternative Brazil was actually offering homes here to the Barbados government. And I approached someone here. I won't call any names because we have to be thing here with regards to that. And that was shot down. The aspect of course, that you raised went through my mind while you were speaking, because what are we dealing with in terms of intermediaries? Because when I calculated, Maxine, without any of the things that you're talking about in terms of what I call infrastructural development, that is the plumbing, electricity, foundations, and all, I fundamentally wrapped that up in the name of an infrastructure development for the house. I calculated that when you take into consideration the original cost of 29 million, if I'm correct, am I correct at that? 29 million?
Yep.
Plus 23, 24 million overrun, that comes to about $53 million for 150 homes. And I haven't even factored in what you talk about. And I've calculated around $351,000 for a house. That is nowhere near a low-income home. Not by any stretch of the imagination. And we Barbadians, you, myself, Marcia, I almost forgot his name. I called him Glenn Caswell. We are paying for this.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, if I am paying for something, then I must be given an accountability of how you are dealing with my money. And I am calling on the government. No, don't come to me with no stupid talk about and I'm just trying to read back my notes here that I made while you were speaking. Stupid talk of just you making a statement and you not providing documentation. My goodness, Maxine, when we going for a mortgage, you know how much stuff we've got to present to a bank just to get a mortgage to build our own home?
That is true.
A whole ton of stuff, and they don't take our word. We got to bring electric bills, water bills, we got to build letters, references, all of those kinds of things we have. What I want to see the documentation with regards to this project. I want to see every single page.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
Thank you, Dr. Ferdinand and Mr. Franklin. What are your? I know you have quite a bit to say on this topic. Jump right in, sir.
I interrupted Maxine earlier because I didn't understand why that $13,000 per container would factor into the cost of a house, because it's like a bottle of beer. When you carry back the beer, the bottle you get back your deposit. Same thing with containers. And when you give back the people the container, you get back your $13,000. So somehow that money ain't finding its way back out. So we gotta account for that. 1, 2. That's $156,000. We said the 12 containers, right? That's $156,000. Might seem like a little bit of money to people who like carrying with. I mean, spending. Keep on, geez, but keep spending.
Wait, Catherine, stick a pin there. There are 120 40-foot containers, and the price for those
120?
120, $1.96 million for containers alone. And when I worked it out at $16,333 per container. Or if I worked it out over the 150 houses, it was 13,000. So it's a 1.96 million. So even if they can't afford to give those away when they get here, so that might be a container intermediary. Sorry, you go ahead.
Yeah, because that doesn't make sense. Okay, the containers go back out. We don't keep them here sometimes, and sometimes if you bring a container and you return it, then you have to pay the shipping company for the container. But and especially in that time of the year, people, they were not getting enough containers because the ships were blocked up in the Suez Canal and all kinds of stuff, and you couldn't get out nobody. So people wanted containers very badly. All you had to do is to go on one of those empty warehouses that you got there, offload your containers, put them inside there, mark house 1, house 2, house 3, and you can get rid of that. That cost should not be in there, but somebody. Mind you, it's a steel container. You must remember, containers are made of steel.
I remember, and the interesting thing is that they're two identical numbers: 1.96 million for containers, 1.96 million for shipping. I'm not a mathematician. My sister's the actuary, not me.
But can I tell you something there? As an accountant, when you see something like that, that is
Exact
a red
numbers.
flag.
Mm.
Because it seems
I
like
did-
it seems like a made up number.
No, but
I have a confession to make, Marcia. In another life, when I first came back here as a young lecturer, I had planned to become an accountant. So, so I have an interest in numbers. So, it was a red flag for me from the time I saw the two identical numbers.
no, but you see, the problem here is the red flags don't mean anything because there's so much red over there, so many red. So, yes, so another red flag and can mean anything. Next red flag. You know, Maxine, you quote the rule, but you didn't quote it, but you mentioned the rule, but you got to avoid.
39.
Yeah, Rule 239. You could avoid going to tender. But I know about that rule. I know that rule very well. That rule is used when there are limited suppliers or only one supplier. So that you don't make the sense going to tender if you want something that only one person makes. So you have to just justify it to the cabinet and say, well, look, we make sense going tender because only Ferdinand Nichols and company make this item. So why are we going to say to go up there for tender when the only tender we're likely to get is his? That was not the case with steel houses.
No,
Or that was not the case with housing solutions. Because you could get a barge for about less than 1.96 million and bring wood from Suriname or Guyana or both
or Belize, or Belize.
or Belize and get it here in a fraction of the time that it would cost. It would take to get on that slow boat to China. Remember, it actually came down the slow boat. Yeah,
I could have
Freddie.
provided houses from North Carolina. I could have provided homes out of North Carolina. Anyhow, go ahead.
All right, you see, so something is wrong here. But the other red flag for me is that the Chinese man was courting them before the storm. Right? So they knew they were going to find a way to get those houses from China. Because I'm going to tell you, not that I'm going to make a case for Maloney or anybody else now, but Maloney was still building houses and putting them down because there were no buyers. But he was intent on not sending home his staff.
Okay.
So he continued to build houses and put them down. So they could have gone to Maloney straight and they would have had more than the houses they need because he had houses available. Mind you, eventually, I don't know what happened, but Duguid eventually bought those houses for Chancery Lane or whatever. But there were houses in Barbados ready just to be installed. So something is awfully wrong there. Again, another red flag. So somebody has to account for this. And you are telling me now that the permanent secretary, I mean, permanent secretaries are usually administrators. They're not usually technical people. Very few permanent secretaries are technical people. We got one permanent secretary I know about, right now, and he's a lawyer. He's in administration, I think the permanent secretary and labor. The rest are just mostly paper pushers, and they don't have these technical skills. So he should have relied. I understand they're doing it now. But what was the haste? What was the indecent haste? Especially when you consider that with all this indecent haste, they still didn't get the houses down here, and they still didn't get them up to now. Somebody needs to face a judge. I'm not saying lock them up, but I say face a judge. Let me see, let the evidence come, and let me see if we can find one of them guilty or not. This should not be handled administratively. This looks like a criminal investigation. Too much money has passed, and right now we are borrowing money. We're borrowing money to pay loans. And if you're borrowing money to pay loans, that means you don't got the money. I'm sorry for going down this way, but remember Sahada was considering going to the house to get a supplementary. First time I recorded history that you were going to the house the day before the end of the financial year to get money. It sounds like a parole. He gets a piece of change, you rush out there, so and you go and you get a spliff or something. So you know what I mean. This is, so we can't afford to waste money. Because they say, oh, they can't afford to left money on the table. They weren't leaving any money on the table. They just had people to pay, and they couldn't pay them. That means that when they were doing that supplementary last week, that the Treasury had no money available. The Treasury was broke. That is a reasonable conclusion to draw, especially when you got other bills that you can't do a supplementary for because you don't have the money. If you ain't got the money, you're broke. The Treasury is broke, and the government panicking. We'll go have an emergency session on the Saturday, and then you can take money and give away $1.96 million. I think it is, let's say, dubious. I'll put it no higher than that. Something is wrong. We need answers. The people of this country need answers. There are too many things going wrong in our finances. Ralph talked about the 67 people going to Dubai for a climate conference. We're trying to eliminate these greenhouse gases. You put some people on an airplane, make the airplane heavier to burn more fuel, and you're saying, oh, this is climate change. All kind of madness happening in this country, and the Prime Minister has to take responsibility for it because it's her government, right?
I was just looking at a number there, where somebody put up that a steel house would be like $9.50 to $11 per square foot, and I was just looking at the sizes of in the report. What they did say was, I think the houses were about 700 to what is it? The houses would have been ranging. The Ministry of Housing subsequently entered into an arrangement with the entities to supply 150 prefab steel houses ranging in size from 700 and 1,025 square feet. So if you wanted to get an idea, if I have no idea if this is correct or not, but even if you double it, because at 950, 700 square feet would be $66,000 plus dollars. At 11, it would be 77,000. At 1,025, at 950, it would be like 97,000, and at 11, it would be like 112 plus thousand. So even if you double each one of them, they still don't come anywhere close. So in other words, if you took it to $19 or $22 per square foot. And and then of course you factor in, because these other costs are not there. So you ever got
close to the steel? You ever actually went close enough to that steel to see how flimsy it is?
It looked flimsy. I saw
they couldn't stand up. You remember we had a highway, it wasn't a storm or anything like that, and the steel bent up and twisted and mashed up and all kind of stuff.
That's right.
So it looked it's a little bit thicker than aluminium foil.
No, that, man, Castle, that's hard to believe, because I'm familiar with this. I am familiar with this because for years I've been looking into prefabricated housing solutions for Barbados. For years I've been doing this. And in most instances, the main frame of the steel homes is out of 28 gauge, between 28 and 32 gauge steel. That's the main structural frames. But then the other things like what we would call the stud work that would fit on the inside and so on, which we would normally use wood. That is that's a much thinner grade. If you're telling me that what the main frames were being, what you all saw for the main frames was something like what would be going into the stud work and that type of thing, that's really very serious. That house could not withstand a house.
Freddie, the steel bent up in a not even storm force wind.
There were problems. Caswell is correct. My recollection was that they had, in fact, I remember, because I had heard that, I passed, before they were completed, the ones there on White Park Road, we were getting some bad weather, and I remember I passed, and I said, I hope tomorrow those things will still be standing, because they they did have some problems somewhere. Was my recollection.
The steel got twisted up, and I know very well that if that steel had any strength in it, the wind Wind just took it and bent it up. So somebody buying some counterfeit steel.
Well,
You know, it was really a steel.
you're just reinforcing what I've said about the quality of Chinese material, and it's not a reflection on. I don't want anybody to get me wrong. I don't even want you Chinese to get me wrong. But the reality is that there've been complaints all over the world. I know specifically the United States, because that's where I've been working on for housing solutions. Where a number of the materials imported from China to the United States to help with construction of homes has been below quality, and I mean B low quality. I don't mean just a standard or two, tons of standard. I mentioned the sheetrock, which resulted in moisture condensing within people's homes. People lost, these fancy fixtures they have on the inside, ornaments and all that began to tarnish inside of their homes and all those kind of things. It is a known factor. I mean, come on, guys. We know that in the majority of instances, Chinese material is really of inferior quality. It is known. It is known. And I know in some areas they've begun to do better.
I don't know. You want to say categorically that it is. Like you may say some. I would be cautious.
Some, yeah. I will agree with you. Thank you for
the majority of the stuff that they send here.
Correction.
No, the majority of the stuff that they send here, the Chinese have good stuff too, but we don't get it. We don't get it. I go into a store looking and I shop. Like for instance, when I buy food, I look at the cans and I look for sodium content, that kind of thing, before I commit myself to it. When I buy any other thing that I ain't gonna eat, I look on it and I see made in China, and I put it down looking for something else. It has to be the only thing that I can get is made in China. Even a knife. If you get a knife made in Germany, your children will use that knife when they get old and you pass. You got a knife made in China, you're going to get one next month. Flimsy, and one hole on edge. Look at, just go into any store. They just sell us a lot of counterfeit stuff. Mind you, it's cheap. It's very cheap. My mother one time, the fellas used to come in the house and tell you, good things no cheap, cheap things no good. Well, I learned my lesson from that with the Chinese now too. These things are absolutely cheap. These the flimsy pieces of steel, but you could hold the steel and bend it with your hand. I was tempted to buy. I don't want to buy the ceiling. I went by the by my old office there on Park Road, and I wanted to bend. I just wanted to, but I said no. I mean, too many people looking at them. I got cameras, and I didn't bother. But the things were thin, and I didn't see any big gauge steel that would that you could think that you could use on the outer, like the part, the frame, the building it with. All the buildings were framed with little thing. Look, I said like aluminum foil. They look more like galvanized sheeting.
Yes.
You know, to be exact, they look more like that type of gauge. More like, and I'm not even thinking about the heavy gauge galvanized sheeting that you get for industrial use from Trinidad. I'm talking about the little ones that you would use on your house, to save money. It was just poor. Something, and mind you, the minister at the time has a lot of expertise in building because he got houses all over Barbados. He in addition to being a dentist, he was there building houses for years, and he built high quality houses. I can tell you, I know the man. And a lot of people he got a lot of tenants, and those houses he supervised the construction of these homes. So there's no excuse for him to produce houses or material of this quality. There's none. He knows better.
I want to say something quickly too, Caswell. I have always been cautioned that when things are being shipped from China, make sure somebody is in China to ensure that what you bought and ordered is actually put into a container. I would caution with that. And this is coming out of Cayman because I remember the Holiday Inn in Cayman was renovated and owned by a local Caymanian businessman who was married to a Chinese lady. And in speaking with her, she said to me categorically, if you are ordering anything from China, make sure you have somebody on the ground in China who's going to ensure that what you ordered is actually placed in the container. I have ordered some samples from China. And I can tell you that what I received was nothing like what we ordered, what we sought to order. I can tell you that.
Well, and to be fair, it isn't only China. Even down in Guyana, when Guyana was producing green heart.
Yes.
A green heart tree takes about 100 years to mature.
Yeah.
But when you cut a 15-year-old tree, after a few weeks, you can take the green heart and crumble it in your hand. So, and that's what they were doing to us too. So you have to have people on the ground everywhere, or some person who you can trust or get certain guarantees. But so that aside, I don't think we wanted somebody on the ground in China. I think we wanted these steel houses.
Yeah.
Because when you get $196 million in shipping for shipping, 1.96 million for shipping, we could have bought a boat.
Yeah. But what I want to say about this, thank you so much, Miss McLean, for giving us this insight this evening and breaking down this report, this special report for us. But the big thing, is what are we going to do? We have this information we can read, and we've spent the time, we've broken down the report for you tonight. Aren't we tired? I mean, I'm listening to this and I've been very quiet thinking, how much more of this can we take? We've been told by, Senator John, the Anglican priest, I can't remember his name.
Senator Rogers.
John Rogers, right? He says that, we need to be operating with MAUBY pockets at the moment. But when you hear things like this, right? We are being encouraged to live within your means. It's tough. It's going to be hard. That's what Senator John Rogers said, based on the report that came out. My question is, when you hear that we need to live, Heather, like we have MAUBY pockets, and then you see this use or mismanagement of funds. It's not $3, It's not $5. We're talking here about what's it? It's about over 50 million, Miss McLean. Am I correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is over $50 million.
I mean, what
for
you
the
coming
project
to tell
so far.
me?
In fact, not 50 is more than that, because they've spent money, or they're supposed to have allocated money for doing foundations, and we need to find out whether since or before the Auditor General's report, whether any money has been paid out in relation to them. So you're talking probably another $20 million on top of what we're seeing if
Yeah, between let's be conservative, and say over 50 million, because we don't want them saying that we are telling untruths on here. Although what Ms. McLean is saying, it makes sense, but because we didn't put in all the plumbing and all the other things, okay?
Foundations, land that you have to put it on, and all of that, where you have to relocate.
So let's say $60,000,
$60 million.
$60 million.
Yes, yes.
60 cents.
That's right.
And then you're going to tell us that we need to operate with a MAUBY pocket. What is
no,
this?
But Marcia, stick a pin there though. I think that I cannot fault Senator Rogers.
No, I'm not.
No, but the point I'm making is that Barbadians. You asked the question, and I think you directed Heather, but I'm going to run away from the camera in a minute, and I want to make this before we wrap up on this. You asked the question, what are we supposed to do? We are educating Barbadians. It is what are they to do as well, because at the end of the day, there are too many Barbadians who sat around believing that we are out here making up stories.
Correct.
It is for them to act, because he's
right.
correct. We have been sacrificing, and we need to sacrifice. But we also have to say to the government, we cannot be sacrificing when they are wasting taxpayers' money.
That's the point.
This is only one.
Miss McLean. That's the point.
Okay,
only one.
That's what you're critical of Father Rogers.
Not
Senator
faulting Senator Rogers at all.
Okay.
I'm saying that he is saying this to us, okay? But at the same time, what we're seeing is a squandering and the mismanagement of funds. That's what I'm saying. And I think us as Barbados, we are tired. We are tired of this. Enough is enough. We're totally tired of it. Heather,
I can fault Senator Rogers because he needs to talk. He needs to tell the government so. You don't need to tell the people because the people already ain't getting the MAUBY. They can't afford it. Right now, he should be saying to the government, look, you are taxing us left, right, and center, and there's nothing to show for it. I don't want these nice little things, the little song bites that he gives and thing. He is in there on the government payroll in a lot of other instances, so he can't talk to them that he should be talking to them. He can't talk to them. He don't want to hear him. Don't want to hear him at all.
yeah.
But didn't he
But
make these
I
comments
really
in the
wanted
last
to
Senate?
hear Heather. I asked Heather the question. Mr. Clean answered it as well. And so let me hear Heather.
Heather, sorry for
Hi,
taking
Heather.
away from
No
you.
Long time no
problem. Good night,
see.
everyone.
Good
Yes,
night,
long time. We
Heather.
haven't seen each other. Yes.
Good to see you.
Um,
Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I did not read the document. I did not get around to reading it. However, someone told me today that basically the information given to the Auditor General could never have been correct. So therefore, there is a lot of underreporting going on based on what Maxine was discussing. So he has not presented us with an accurate picture because he has not received the information. So we are no wiser. So there most likely much more money would have been spent and they can't account for it. So and they presented a document with underreporting. So I don't know if there is any way that we can go back to come forward because we need to know where this money has gone.
Yes. Thank you,
Wow.
Heather. Dr. Ferdinand, you had a comment?
No. Go right ahead. Go right ahead. I think I said enough on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Topic.
All
You
right.
know, but I think Caswell, thinking about this and just what has occurred. I mean, this is everything in housing. The whole thing needs we need to get rid of this government. We need to get rid of this
We do.
government. I
We do.
really I can't say this more. You know, and this is not a political statement. It's a statement of survival, really. We have to be able to survive, and with this kind of what is happening, it's not right. You know, like how is this happening? It's a second scandal that is happening in housing. The second scandal as well. We have a few
Marcia,
minutes. We have 2 minutes before the architect comes on. He's in the green room. But Caswell, let me give
Marcia,
you.
look, Marcia,
Yeah.
watch. Do good or do bad or whatever they're calling him. He messes up everything he puts his hand on. No, he is down in St. Joseph too. You know, he's the guy that handles um, the town planning aspect of the Prime Minister's portfolio. You see, so I don't know what happens. Why he might be a good dentist, I understand, but he's not good, and he might be a good builder too because he built a lot of houses and he make a lot of money out of them. So I probably think that's probably why the Prime Minister gave him a housing portfolio. But when he's spending other people's money, he ain't as careful when he's spending his. And that's when you should be more careful when you spend other people's money because you should be able to account for every penny of somebody else's money. Now, the next scandal, he's involved in it again. Trying to but this thing something attaches to this man that I don't understand. You know? So I don't know if the Prime Minister knows where they got a problem, so let me send Duguay, you know, and because he can afford to leave the cabinet if he get caught in these things and still live because he's very well off. He inherited tons of money when his father died, and then he made a lot of his own. So I don't know why everything that he touched has to have some problems with it because he doesn't need the money.
Yeah.
I don't know what as a result what is happening here. He does not need the money. Mind you, you have people who would be millionaires and go and steal. So I'm not saying that he's stealing. I'm not talking about him. I'm saying that people might need the money, might want the money rather than need it. Like for instance, me, I need money, but but people
Yeah.
that do get don't need money. You might want some more.
Mm.
So there's no question that Dugard would have to get involved in skullduggery to make money because he has been making money everything he put his hands on. So why is everything that he is involved in going pot?
Yeah, that's the big question. And we are, as you mentioned, Joe's River. We have with us Mr. Steve Gemot with us on the program tonight, and I'm very honored to have him. As I told him, we are about education here. And last night we were struggling to understand what are the differences between town and planning, the Town and Planning Act versus the Planning and Development Act. What are some of the differences? And Mr. Gemot is here tonight to shed some light on it. But just let me just read a bit about who Mr. Gemot is. Mr. Steve Gemot is an architect, and he graduated with honors. Wow, CUNY, New York. Oh my goodness! I mean, all I've seen is honors, honors, honors. So he's very, very much qualified to speak to us. He's a registered architect in Barbados, a former vice president of the Barbados Institute of Architects. Mr. Gemot has been practicing architecture in Barbados, the USA, and throughout the Caribbean for over 35 years. Gemot has worked in Manhattan with the Barron's Chetrit Engineering Architects before relocating back to Barbados to have Sherburne project ready for the then global conference that they were going to have. He's a project partner with Design Collaborative Architects. I'm tongue twisting tonight, guys. And Steve I. Gemot Architectural Associates, and now S. Gem Design Inc. He's a multi-talented individual. And there are lots of other projects that he's been involved in: Sir Lord Erskine Convention, Villanova, Guardian General, Caribbean Home Insurance, Project Manager, the airport, and the list goes on. Important is that Mr. Gemot lives in Hillswick Village, just above Bathsheba region, and within 3 minutes walk from that from the East Coast. And I think that is very, very important. You would have seen him on one of the videos last night. And he is here with us. And let me take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Gemot. Welcome to the Marcia Week Show, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. Let me first say that you don't normally find professionals on these shows, right?
Yes.
And but it is with a sense of responsibility to my people in this constituency that I get involved in this project, right? Because having lived here for all these years, and coming up as a young, graduate and living in Bathsheba area and seeing most of the old people passed away who has enjoyed a certain lifestyle, a certain heritage. I mean, when they speak, it is so sweet. Of the things when they speak of even the old women. Most of the old women work at Tenby at this hotel. Most of them used the passageway, used the river to get to work because most of them work on the East Coast. A lot of them have passed away, and now we have the young group, most of them. There's some who would have worked in East Coast and would have traversed this bridge. And it wasn't the bridge. Actually, the bridge was not used for that purpose. They had to go through the river, and if the seas are not high or the tide is not high, they probably have to go through what we call the line, right? Meaning they will have to walk through the water or through the rocks, right? Now it is really, and I'm saying this because I live on a site which, when I did my development here, I found that there were hills like almost 12 feet high, which are full of stones 2 inches in diameter. in which the slaves would have used, the women would have had these stones from George River Plantation over to my site. And I think that this is a heritage site right here, because it speaks of the hard work that our people had put into George River, you know, in order to get the land arable because of all the rocks and so on. And it is with that sense of community and that the, you know, coming up and being among all of these old folks who've passed away and enjoyed Bathsheba on mornings. We walk, my wife and I, we walk the line and we pick grapes, we take the dogs out. And to know that this is being dragged from under our feet, right? As an architect, I can't sit with my people and really allow them to be disenfranchised. That is why I'm speaking tonight. It is really tough, you know, going through this and seeing that people are keeping quiet. This is a very serious matter. You know, I mean, I want to get to the meat of the matter in that, in terms of the laws that govern these coastal regions, there were certain privileges that we as Barbadians enjoyed.
Yes.
And it had to do with our livelihoods around the hotels and around guest houses and, you know, that like. And we have always had, through the years, we've had people who were very amicable, friendly. And now we have some strange persons coming into this district who believe that we have no place in here, right? And so therefore, having the hotel removed, or should I say it's no longer a hotel, and the rights that one enjoyed with the hotel, funny enough, was given over to a mansion. Now, a hotel and a mansion is two different building types. You cannot walk to a mansion, but you can walk to a hotel. You can go, you don't have to go in the pool. You can go and eat, you can have dinner, you can mingle with the people. I think we can do that through all of the coastal hotels in Barbados, right? Behave ourselves. We are invited there. But now that does not apply to a mansion. So therefore the story has changed somewhat. But yet this guy wants all 10 pounds of flesh, right? And what that says to us is that we are looking to have these same privileges that we had before. I mean, this is going back down to the 18th century. And if one looks at the photographs within the annals of Barbadian history, you will see that our people actually bathe and wash their clothes in this river. I mean, there's no, you know, I mean, it's sad. It's sad when one goes through the pictures and see this, and see that what we've actually come across is something called land reclamation, in which this guy has actually put up boulders have been put. It says the Water Authority. The Water Authority has no interest in the sea. The Water Authority went and they were rerouting the water from East Coast up through to Bathsheba, all up through to St. John, and they used the bridge as a channel. And by doing that, they had to go under the bridge and connect the pipes, in which they actually put pipes into the old pipes, which is called feeding through the old pipes. And because of that, they had to use the reserve of the train line. So that is where, so they were not the ones who put up those rocks that did that we call reverberant or whatever is it. I mean, it's a boulder wall. It is a boulder wall. It isn't no pretty tall. It's boulder wall. It's a wall meant to prevent persons from entering into the site. They had an intention for doing that. So I'm saying that when you do that now, and then you block all the other entrances, it creates problems for persons now to get to the river. And that is what my people spoke about last night.
Yes.
We can't get to the river. No, the solution, the thing is this here. I'm not saying the solution because I'm of the view that there was a mistake made. Rectifying this mistake is costly. Somebody is going to be fall guy. Will it be the people in St. Joseph? Will it be the minister? Will it be the prime minister? Who is going to take the fall for this? Or will it be the treasury? Because how does Barbados speak to making an error and rescinding that error? It's a costly affair. And what that says is that we need to be careful when we're giving permissions to certain types of development. Because not everyone will listen to you after you've given them the rights. I mean, everybody's gone silent, but that is the reality that we're faced with here.
Yeah.
We all make mistakes sometimes in our deals. Well, I call it deals. I'm not being nasty. I'm just saying sometimes we make deals, and because of government's thrust to have investment and so forth, sometimes they go and they give permissions, right? Mm-hmm. But sometimes the people for which you do this, they don't have any much understanding, or they don't have no care about, they're not willing to say, okay, yes, we realize that you have that there was an overshot, and perhaps there and I think that this speaks to the fact that there was no environmental assessment or no social assessment done, because the people would have known and obviously would have speak to these issues. But the fact that the government felt that there was no need to do this, and I don't know why they believe so, because I don't know if St. Joseph people they don't have any rights to anything. But it's a shoddy treatment. But to say now, okay, the mistake is made, the new owner is not willing to concede in any way. The people in Bathsheba are being disenfranchised. So the question is, how do we deal with this matter? Now, obviously, as an architect, in the planning of projects of such nature, there are a number of laws that I would say, used to govern the development of projects. And I think Lenny St. Hill would be rolling in his grave to know that all of these rules were thrown aside. That, when we look at the Town and Country Planning Act and the Town and Country Planning laws, you ask yourself, have we thrown away the book? And the phrase, everything lies under the discretion of the minister, does that apply to everything in Barbados? Because can we use any measure to say that the man is building within parameters? Are there any parameters at all nowadays?
So let me ask you something, Mr. Gemma, just making sure, I just have to clarify something. So with the town and country planning laws, were there clear laws on where we could build and where we couldn't build and where access was supposed to be granted? Was it very clear with the town and country, the old one that we had before it was changed? Was that very clear?
Well, I would say, this is what I would say, is that there has been a transition. There has been a transition in terms of the laws that govern development. There were certain, obviously, there were certain rights. There were certain rights or certain decisions that were exercised by those in authority that, obviously, within the interest of the economic progress and investment trust and all these different economic terms. People that we've been giving away this and we're doing that and we'll be doing this and that. And sometimes the town and country planning officers may take longer than necessary than what some people want to make certain decisions. And up comes some officer, some members and say, listen, y'all are dragging your feet. This guy needs to have this thing done tomorrow. And by doing that, everything is thrown through the window. Approvals are given.
I see.
And, you find that you find that has happened. Some projects go directly to the Prime Minister's office. I'm not saying the present Prime Minister, but that has been going on for a while. Yeah. The powers that are exercised now during the new act.
This is the Planning and Development Act, right? Yes.
Yes, because we have been going through this whole thing, town country planning, but there's no longer town country plan. There's no town planner in Barbados. There's no town planner in Barbados, no chief town planner in Barbados. All the officers are basically technical officers, senior technical officers, and they are doing their job as usual, doing the assessments and going through. And then we have the other allied professional side, the environmental planning, the VAUGHAN, environmental planning, coastal conservation, and the Light Water Authority, Ministry of Drainage Unit. All of these things we have. And collectively, decisions are made regarding certain development that should go on, whether it's a house, channel house, or a mansion, or a hotel. All of this stuff is being done by the officers. When that is done, the decision is the file is sent to the board. Who decides what has to be done? But not ultimately. There's some things that are sent, right? There's some projects that are sent to the head, as we know that.
So when you say sent to the head, so those discretionary powers, with the Prime Minister, so the final
exactly because
is it because we don't have a chief town planner? Why it goes directly to the Prime Minister?
Well, before the chief town planner would make a decision, it could also be determined by the Minister of Finance or whoever holds that office. That is what was written, right? Okay. So the Minister of Finance always had the last say. That has always been so the chief town planner could do the job.
Yes.
At the end of the day, it's the Prime Minister who determines, hey, you don't like this, but I want this for my country.
So really, at this moment, because this is the thing that at the end of the day, as you said, it's about our country and about what we want in our country. And so this conversation should really be, we really need to hold this conversation with the Prime Minister of Barbados. Ultimately, it's what I'm understanding for you. But continue, sir.
Right, you're correct. You see, we are trying to reposition Barbados. I mean, the government trying to reposition Barbados for investment and all of this. I'm not anti-investment because that's like a doctor who don't want me to get sick. You get me? It's funny enough, but there's my profession. Development is my profession. I want to see houses built. I want to see hotels. I want to see airports. I want to see bridges. I want to see a lot of things done. That is my profession. So, but at the same time, I'm a human being, and that is why I'm here. Notwithstanding all of that, there are people's feelings and people's heritage and people's culture. All these things has to be taken into account. The servant has to realize that the master is the people, and you can't give away the master's gold and not be found or fired, right? I mean, that goes to, that is something that's long known. You have to be careful when you are exercising these powers, that you have all of the information
Mm.
that you need in order to make these decisions.
Yeah.
Because we see, when we go back, as with more people, when we make a decision, sometimes it happens to me too. Sometimes I lie in my bed and say, boy, shoot, I know give away all of my money, right? How do I get back that? So I can't go back to the person. Some people could say, okay, all right, yeah, I understand you try to be nice and blah blah, but there's some people who said, look, I got you this time. If you want it back, you got to fight me in court. You got to go Corey Street, right? So I'm saying is that, honestly, what was done, we were dealing with a crass investor.
Have
A
you
guy
met
who's-
the investor? Have you met the investor, Mr. Gemma?
No, nobody knows. I shouldn't say that. Very few people have seen him.
You're there,
Yeah.
Mr. Gemma?
Yeah, I'm here. No, I saw anything. Yeah, I am not even sure if that's him. Yeah,
Mm.
I'm not even sure if that's him because that what happens, he may very well, as far as I know, he may not have been involved in the bridge construction at all, from my knowledge.
Mhm.
So I don't think that's him, because he came in after the bridge. He
Yeah.
came in after. So I believe that might have been a little more something to show that somebody doing something, but really and truly, that may be optics. But I don't think that he was there.
Mhm.
I don't even. He was not even there when the law changed, when the town planning thing changed.
I understand. Yes.
So there's something behind this. There's something funny behind this whole thing. There's a power behind this whole thing. Right?
Yeah.
But anyway, he has this right. He has been given this right to do these things, which was accorded to the hotel, and he's exercising this right. Yeah. We've made a mistake. We made a mistake, and this guy is not bending, because the people want we want our rights. But the rights of a hotel and the rights of a mansion is different. So I don't know how we're gonna bend his arms, right?
Yeah.
I think that is where everything. That's where everything is about. Yeah.
Well, it's a costly mistake. Somebody said it's a costly mistake that our leaders, have made, and we have to come to grips with this. Whether don't this is not about party. This is about us being Barbadians.
Exactly.
It's a costly mistake. Yes.
Yeah. So I understand the position of the government. I understand there's a lot of players. I understand a lot of things that I may not even be able to say. But at the same time, how do we get this matter? How do we create a situation where everybody comes out a winner?
Yes.
I think that is where I am at. How do we do that? And the thing is, any solution has to be safe and I would say happy, because you cannot expect the people to walk over a bridge that is eroding every day. One, you cannot expect my people to climb mountains and climb over cliffs. You cannot expect them to walk on the water's edge. So we need to come with a solution that addresses these, and people and that the residents who have been enjoying this can continue, and that the owner can enjoy that can enjoy themselves. I would say themselves. Because at the end of the day, it's one man against about 7,000. And that equation is really startling, that we are willing to sacrifice the livelihood of over 7 or 10,000 constituents for one man's whose country is probably over 1,000 times the size of Barbados, who comes here and wants to lord over our privilege and our heritage.
Wow.
And I would say this as a professional, that
Yes.
that there is a dire need. There's a dire need for in this development, this new Barbados, not to just pick people to give you information, but to pick people who has foresight and hindsight and would be able to make sensible decisions for you. You see, when we rush into things and we got this body, we pick this person, we run up and we pick Tom, Dick, and Harry, put them on this and put them on that. Some of them don't have a clue what's going on. And every minute we're faced with these things. I mean, we see it going on all the time, right? Somebody has to stand up and say, listen, the man don't know what he's doing. Minister doesn't know what they're doing. Somebody in Parliament needs to stand up and talk to one another and tell, listen, we're doing it wrong. But everybody lining up behind one another and falling in the same hole. Nobody ain't dodging it and saying, well, listen, don't go there, don't go there. That is the problem here. It is not about lining up behind the Prime Minister and whatever she wants to do. It is assisting her. And I think that they're doing that some of these people are doing her a disservice by giving her false information. It's funny enough. Whenever there's a problem, my face appears. Right? But anyway, I am here for the people of St. Joseph. Not politically, but because I love St. Joseph. Yes. I could have been somewhere in Tahiti with some one of these with this thing around my neck and enjoying some wine and thing. And I came to Barbados.
Yes.
Give up all of my lifestyle in America for the finer things in life, to come to St. Joseph, to give up all my properties in St. George, to come here, down here, with my wife and family and enjoy things and enjoy my people. And I want to know that we have not failed them. Sometimes it is with a sense of duty and a sense of sorrow. When I stand and I see how my people behave and how they take to certain things. I saw a guy today and I asked him, what are we going to do? He said, but I can't do nothing. That was sad. I walked down the hill sad. What are you going to do? You can't do nothing. Is that the position that we have taken now? That we cannot do anything? Everything is gone quiet now, right? But I'm speaking from my heart.
Yes, and we're feeling it. That's why we're quiet. We're quiet because it's coming through.
I am an architect. I studied hard. I worked hard. I went all kinds of places, represented all kinds of governments. And now this is my turn here. This is my country. And if I have given up the lifestyle for all of these places, of having a life of luxury, to come here to help my country, why should I not have a say in the things that my affairs, especially in my backyard? We have given up. We in this constituency have given up so much things. There are a lot of people who don't want to say. They will come and whisper, yes, you're this and yes, you're that, you're doing a good job, but they don't want to say anything, right? Right now, my mother-in-law, she has a developer who has music banging shaking down the house around crop over time. When she called the authorities, they said, lady, go sleep. I won't call the authorities, lady, go sleep. You have another, on the other end now, there's over the river, George River. On the other end now, you got music beating down to Bathsheba all through the night. And the galvanized just singing. And we have given up this quietness, this quiet environment for these development projects that fail to help or to add to the beauty of Bathsheba. And this noise, everybody holding a carry festa inside of their yards. Bringing all these big bands and banging music and like strobe lights and music, shaking the galvanized and the pig pen, chickens keeping noise. We are not accustomed to that. It is one thing to say you want Bathsheba to be as pristine and as, you know, as it is. But then when you bring these things, you're talking chalk and cheese, no?
As you're saying that, I'm one of the persons here, Mr. Peter Boones. I've heard it is said, it's alleged that he says that Bathsheba would be the oysters of the East. Is this what the people want? Because you see, if it's the oysters of the East, is more of what you're talking about there. You know, is this what the people of St. Joseph want? No.
Sometimes I believe, based on feedback, that I may be voice of the people. We have my friend Louis, who has a heart of stone. We have others out there who feel it. But then there's some people who are cold. They would not say anything, right? They would just come and whisper. They will come and whisper to you, good, you're doing a good job. I like this and I like that. But they're scared. They're scared of, I don't know what, right? Of standing up. But that situation that you just spoke about, it's something that was thrown out. There was a time when there was this Bathsheba by night that was proposed, in which certain parties from Christchurch came to bring something Bathsheba by night, in which we would start to turn Bathsheba into like a St. Lawrence Gap, Oystins, and we felt that Bathsheba should retain its quietude. There's beauty about it. I recall sometime back there was a couple from Canada who came to Barbados, and I felt like they needed activity, and I introduced them to a guest house in Bay Street, not Upper Bay Street, Lower Bay Street, and they spent 3 days there for the week. The next 2 days, I said, you know something? Let me get them a little taste of Bathsheba. And I brought them down to Kenoa House. And I introduced them to the owner, and they stood there. You know, they called with me. They said, man, you ain't do with me. You had this here all the time. You going to send us up in noisy. They enjoy the walking the beach at night, that coolness, listening to music. You heard what music was about, right?
Yes, music. Yes, with the waves, the crashing of the waves. Yes.
Music is what we hear at night. Up to now, I know I can hear it. It's the banging of the stuff. You see that wall that they want to put us on? Yeah. That's the drum. That's the drum that music hits at night. That gives that echo.
Wow.
When
I
you
remember that.
That bathing of the frogs and the turtle and all of that light and everything go. A morning, everything is quiet. There's rocks, there's new shells to be picked. People walk to pick shells. They pick glass, wet blue glass, green glass, white glass. They pick, and that is what we enjoy. So I'm saying is that we don't want. I can't say that we don't want, but what I'm saying is that the type of investment that we're having as someone would say that this is the new frontier. All of the rest is closed in. So therefore, if this is the new frontier, then care has to be taken and when permission is given to ensure that there's certain qualities in the investment, in the development that should be retained. I mean, it is not to say that because you want investment, you must bring in every Tom, Dick, and Harry and do every razzmatazz in Bashibi because you want money. There are different types of development. We don't want all the banging and the music and the ram shops and all these things. We don't need to have all of that, right? But we can have an investment that sits comfortably within the environment, right? And that maintains the heritage, maintains the beauty, the rustic nature of Bathsheba, right? And everybody, the smell of the raw fish, all these different things that, we can do things that embellish the lifestyle in Bathsheba. And at the same time, I think the whole matter is this. It's identifying with the people of Bathsheba. Because you can't come in as a foreigner to bring your ways and your means and to enjoy. You find a gem and you want to have it for yourself. I think that's basically what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have this for yourself? No. Nobody else must have this. I find this gem and therefore I am going to open it up to other people. I'm going to invest in it. I'm going to bring people to enjoy it. And these people that live down here have to step aside. That is the voice that we are hearing. And that is the voice, I think, that we are trying to steer the government away from.
Wow. I'm telling you, Mr. Gemma, you are just touching my heart because I love the imagery, Caswell and Dr. Ferdinand, that he talked about the walls there, because I was there on Sunday and I saw the walls there that would no longer be there. That the walls, it's the drums of music.
Yes.
That's how you make
It
Yes. Marcia, what you do not know about me is that I grew up down in that area myself. As a child, I walked those roads all over by Bonita Bar, all up along the side by that wall. I remember going across that wall running, oh God, am I going to fall off here and hurt myself as a child? I spent many, many years. I got my hair cut just up the hill when you go up. I don't recall Steve, when you come up by Benitez Bar and you get up by the rock and you take the turn and you go up.
Cleaver's Hill,
Hill. And right at the top there, the turn to go to Atlantis. I used to get my hair cut right there on the corner.
Yeah.
And just up the road was my family that was involved in fishing, where my father used to carry us every single weekend to buy fish. So I am shocked to hear about all of this because I walked all of that and played as a child all the way through there, the Edgewater, all up through the rock, all behind the area by the really rail. Well, I understood really rail used to run. Mm-hmm. All of that I played as a child.
Yeah.
I have a question.
You have a question? There's a question.
Yes.
And then
for Mr. Gemma. So we know that there is planned development for Kendi and so on, but has the government put on the table any development for locals, the people who live in Bathsheba?
Years ago, there was a proposal to bring Columbia Emeralds to Bathsheba. That's where you look sharp. K. Shepard was coming to Bathsheba. And they were to be sited on the hill, what is now the center.
Yeah.
I felt that that was, and I was actually in that meeting when the plans were proposed. And
remember that.
It's amazing that I was the one who did a counter proposal. And my proposal was that instead of coming to the top of what we call Hillcrest
Yeah.
and trying to bring this fire, what I call it, fire pit and Columbia emeralds and all these high shot things to for the tourists for these bus drives and so on. Why not spread some development along the Bathsheba coast from Tent Bay, from the same Tent Bay, from the very George River, the bottom of George River, all the way up to Hillcrest and Tent Bay. I felt that there was a need to do development along that coast for the people of Barbados. For those who at present still have to put out a tent on the beach and sell clothes. Who all these years, even though they built Hillcrest, they were not considered in that development, you know.
Mm.
So they are still, if the rainfall, they can't sell. But 3 ram shops up the hill. So the people who are selling the jewelry and for the tourists and the clothes, and they have no home. They have no home. They have no they have to do that until they go in Aiden's graveyard. I spoke of that. So, and I asked for certain things along the Bathsheba. Perhaps we can do it a little boardwalk. We can do something, and I'm talking about different ideas. We can do something that can perhaps have the young people bring some ice cream machines and ice cream and snow cone, little popcorn and sell and give them empower them to do something. Don't have them just walking and hopping in a bus or hopping up and call with their truck and go there and you know what I mean and doing that. So people needs to be empowered in this district. Unless we do that to our people, how are we? How I mean, that is the sense of duty that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something I feel as though I have not done sufficient for my people in this constituency, and I'm not the representative. I can tell you some stories that with you, man. Huh? I'm not the representative.
You should be.
Yeah.
He has not done sufficient. He has not done sufficient for the people in his constituency either.
Steve, I don't think this is a mistake. When one looks at what is involved surrounding the development of anything in Barbados of this nature, and I call it the repurposing of a property, this is not a mistake. This has got to have been known for some time from the highest levels in this country and approved from the highest levels in this country. I don't see this as a mistake. A mistake is when something happens that you did not anticipate was going to be a part or something of that nature. But when I look at this, when one looks at all that has to go into development of this, a construction of this nature, because if what I'm hearing you saying is correct, you are suggesting to us that the property has been repurposed from being a hotel to being a private residence. Am I correct in that observation?
Yes.
Well, that means that somebody, somebody would have had to have known that was going to be the case. This is not a mistake. And as far as I'm concerned, the representative for that area should be fired with immediately, because he is not looking out for the interests of his constituents. And he would have had to have known. He's the Attorney General. I am not going to be getting into a place of trying to defer and to protect and anything to cover with this government or any government that takes these kind of positions. It would have had to have been known, because this is a matter that would have had to have gone all the way up to the level of the Prime Minister as the head of the town planning department of this country. Well, you all will correct me on that, but I'm old school, so forgive me. Tongue and country planning. This is not.
You are correct. You are correct, Mr. Nichols. That it would have been known, obviously, because projects of this size and of this, with the magnitude of the investment and the pre-planning and the solicitation of an investment thing like that would have to be discussed, and it would have to be known. I am trust me, I'm using the word mistake because I'm trying to give government a
I
shake
understand.
hand.
I understand.
Get me? And
I ain't giving them nothing.
and an
Sorry, I ain't giving them nothing.
understanding that notwithstanding what has been done, how do we the word nowadays navigate? I don't know how to get out. How do we navigate these things? I mean, I know all these big words, but I try to be simple with my people. How do we get through this stuff?
It's gonna
Marcia,
cost
I
could
will
I,
tell
a
you.
lot of money.
Sorry. Go
One
ahead.
second, guys. Miss McLean
Go ahead, Jeanette.
has a question. Go ahead. ma'am.
yeah, I have a question, but I'll comment there. To the extent that they've made the wrong decision is a mistake, in the sense that it is bad for the area, and in that sense, I would agree with you that it's a mistake that has to be corrected, and as you said, it will probably cost. Unfortunately, it costs us in the short term. But I really wanted to ask you a question because I really was happy to hear your presentation. Obviously, very concerned about a lot of the problems. But as a student of geography at secondary school, we were always told about the fragility. Let me use that word of that general East Coast area, and
Yep.
therefore, any kind of development should take that into consideration. And I think that is part of what you're probably alluding to in terms of what is necessary, because I heard what Marcia said about it was Peter Booth or somebody talking about the oisins of the East. I don't know that we want the oisins in the East. What we want is some kind of development that appreciates. I use the word fragility because we know the topography is very different from the other side of the island, but something which embraces the people. And I just wanted to ask you, from your professional perspective, and I think you've touched on some of that, could you again share what you see as a possible approach to development that takes into consideration the people of Bathsheba and Barbadians who live there, want to remain there, and want to retain, I use the word you use, the pristine nature. That's one of my favorite parts of the island to enjoy. I remember walking from St. Andrew on the sand dunes right down and so on. Or right, I mean, my geography may be in terms directional, whatever. But to me, I don't want to go down there to necessarily have a replication of oisins, but I want to appreciate the difference between there and the rest of Barbados. And I'm just asking what is how do you see this really? Because I think it's important. We don't get to talk about this really.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Your question begs a particular aesthetic. Looking at the nature of Bathsheba as it stands and the type of the rustic qualities of its form.
Yes, yes. So
How as an architect, as a designer, as a planner, I mean, this has been done in other countries in which one has been able to invite designs and so that addresses and marries with the existing environment in a way that you really don't even know that there's a foreign body that is there. And that is an architectural proposition, can be an architectural proposition. It can be done. It has been done. The question is, do we invite such, or do we allow people to come with their preconceived ideas and foist on our environment?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think that is one of the things in which we within the architectural profession, we are faced with now. People come with everything done, plans done, electronic done, engineering done, everything done, approvals done. All they need now is to put an ad in the paper for carpenters, masons. That is it. So the question is, how do you request that a design approach can address an environment and marry with the environment in such a way that everybody lives in a homeostasis, that everybody lives as a synthesis of what is there? that is an architectural design attempt that can be done skillfully. But the other question is, are these investors or whoever's behind these things, do they have another vision for this country that is alien to our lifestyle, that seeks to
That's exactly.
alter our social being, to marginalize us? Is there an attempt? People come with plans, everybody comes with some kind of plans.
Yeah.
And sometimes these things look sweet. And they always say pretty things is fool of children. You have to be very careful when things look pretty. Some people come with things and say, oh, it look pretty. But the question is, does it make sense? Is it what you want? Is it what we want? I've been making pretty and doing pretty drawings and pretty aesthetics and all these pretty things. Sometimes when you done go through them and it's crap, right? But who is there? Who is there to see this? Do we call the right people to the table to analyze these things, or do we just send it through to anybody to put a stamp on it and send out a tender? And that is something that we, as a new republic, needs to reposition ourselves. Is that we are not only just changing government, not just changing things, but we have to do it right now. We have to do it. We have to do it our way. If we're talking about this, we have to do it our way. We need the right people. We are picking up all kinds of people and giving them all kinds of things. And things. Some people that just was on the campaign trail. Putting them in positions that they don't have a clue what's going on. It's just a gift. And then we're ending up with a lot of excesses and overruns and a lot of misconceptions, projects that got to stop because when they get the road, they realize that somebody makes a boo-boo. Can't work at all. So I'm playing with the Prime Minister to be careful, to be very careful, and to be very choosy with those who, in this republic, they're very choosy. Who I mean, some people you can't. Some things people can't change. Some things you can't change. I understand that, right? But that is my desire, right?
I have another question, and it's about Joes River, the river of itself.
Okay.
At present, right, there is an ecosystem within the river of itself. It is a habitat. I'm not sure for what, but can you tell us what is a habitat for, what various ecosystems exist there, and how would putting a wellness center in the river affect the ecosystems and the ecosystem in the river?
Well, I'm not an environmentalist, but I can tell you this, that Joes River, from its beginning, when it's a beginning, it's going up to up Horse Hill, is flanked by housing lots of country people and I say country people because they have pigs, they have sheep, some have goats, and sometimes what comes down the river is a potpourri of everything that's discharged. This leads to the proliferation of this freshwater shrimp who feeds on this matter. Yeah. There's fish in there, and somewhere along the line there's springs as well. And I guess because of the chemistry that things resolve. But the guys still go there to fish. They go for shrimp. I saw a guy who parked outside my gap I thought he had broken down. I thought he went surfing. The morning I woke up, I saw a guy standing by the car. And I was kind of shocked. Hey, this car was there all night. And now this guy standing there, he said, "Excuse me, I can help you. You need a tour or something?" He said, "No, I'm waiting for my friend who was in the river all night fishing."
Wow.
He had over 40 something fish in his thing, and his friend, he had left him in the river with the instruction that they would meet up. They would meet up by the car. So he was standing waiting for his friend. But I'm saying to you, these guys spend the whole night fishing, and they came in from the bridge all the way up to Toggins Hill, to Cox Hill, all the way up to the other bridge. So I'm saying that this thing is still, people are still doing that. They're I mean, honestly, there's some people who may be poor, right? And I see it too. I see it, and their livelihood is going in and get some fish to eat. They may not tell me this, but I know that some of them go and get some like things to eat, fish to eat. They may not be able to buy chicken or thing, but they don't tell me. But I sense it in their voices, and I'm saying that is their livelihood. Now, when you go now and you start to put up barriers and we describe areas, create pools for your rich and famous to come in, there is going to be another problem that will be developed in Barbados, in which the issue of security. And I don't want to see that ever happen in Barbados, where because somebody coming down the river at night is perceived as a criminal.
True.
And shot. Somebody who has been doing that for all their lifetime, just because you as a non-resident come to Barbados, you're not associated, you're not au fait with the lifestyle, and then you take that person to be a criminal or something because that person has been fishing all night for their livelihood. And that is Bashi, but that is country life. So when you superimpose that with a stranger from Christchurch, Australia, or whatever, Brisbane, you can see what can happen. The guys actually go there to eat, to find fish to eat. Not only that, but they also go for freshwater shrimp, some big ones to eat, and also to use as fish, because Bathsheba and Tent Bay, they're fishing villages. So these guys go to find bait to carry out on their fish. I know some young guys in 20, 23 years old who go at night and they fish for 2 days. These are young people still in the fishing industry, you know. So I'm saying to you that we have people that are still continuing this lifestyle. It is not that we all of us now are professionals and everybody know we move away from the land, no gardening, no fishing, nothing like that. Just because I say this years ago, some professional engineer from some country came to Barbados and would not listen to the residents, and they embarked on doing a jetty on Tent Bay. And when the water comes, it put the jetty on the beach. The guy went back to his country with the money. Government got a big slab there on the beach all to now. and that now the decision now is to move the boats down to town. So fishing in Bathsheba now is only reserved for fixing the boats. What I'm saying that Tent Bay is a ghost town now. It's only sometimes the young fellas go there, you know, and they go and fish, but they come back into Bridgetown, and then they might take the bus up to Bathsheba. But we're actually losing our fishing village. Now that is something that we need to look at for our people. Now these are the things that our people are suffering from. You see, we don't have a fishing village anymore, right? We spent I think the government spent over $1.5 million fixing it. And the seas kiss it up. The seas kiss it up and turn it brown. They had there's a watchman there that I don't know what he gets paid for, but he just watches the shores. He watches the music. He listens to music all night, and he's paid. There's no vision there. He's just watching a building that is derelict.
Wow.
This is Bathsheba for you. This is Bathsheba for you,
All
right?
right, I have some things to say,
You could
and I wanted. I'm solutions oriented. I like to get to see a problem and fix it. And we're talking about all the problems, but here's some solutions. Firstly, there was no mistake. This was a deliberate act. One boy called it a mistake. You call it a mistake. Maxine called it a mistake. There's no mistake. It's a deliberate act. This person has connections, and I am not going to repeat the information that's been given today, but only to ask the Prime Minister to come out and explain to the country what is going on here. And I'm not, listen to me very carefully, I'm not saying that she has any conflicts of interest, but she needs to come out and to convince us that she has none in the allocation of these permissions. Too many people, and I hear it so many times. Trust me when I tell you, the Prime Minister is hearing the same things that I'm hearing too, and she owes the country and herself to clear her good name, because today I was on my way to the office. I mind you, I'm not like some people who can afford to spend bank holidays. I go and work. I'm on my way to work today. A person stopped me and he gave me some information that suggests that there might be some conflict. And I said to him, but that's not information that I can use. What I can do is to ask the Prime Minister, because she would have heard about these things. Because I was planning to meet a strike, but not even a strike, a demonstration. 1 o'clock the day of Thursday, and by 6 o'clock I was being called by a minister to tell me that the Prime Minister called him to say that I can have this thing and see if he could talk to me, see if we could get it resolved. The Prime Minister hear everything, so she got to be hearing what might amount to these problems that we're having at Tent Bear, and why she is part of it and how she became part of it. Now, if it is not so, and she's heard these issues, she should come forward and say, I ain't got no connection with this thing other than the proven based on the information given to me by my technocrats. That is because the Prime Minister is not a professional in these areas, and she should be guided. 1, 2, Miss Ram owns some land on Bay Street. The government took it because the government got something called eminent domain. They could take any piece of land. They could come and take your house, sir, and tell you that we want it for public purpose. Well, the access to the gully and the river is a public purpose. And the government can say we can acquire, even if it is private land, and I do not believe it is private land, but let's say it is. The government can extinguish any private land in Barbados for the benefit of the people. We've had a situation where they took up Ms. Ram's land to give to an investor. That's not a public purpose. But for the people in Bathsheba, the public of Bathsheba, the public of George River, they are the public. And it's for their purposes. So that is a public purpose. So she can go out there and say to them, okay, under the Land Acquisition Act 220, I think, chapter 220, laws of Barbados, we are giving you notice that we are acquiring the rights over this piece of land, or we are whatever. However, that aside, the government has the power to do that. Are they going to do it to their friends? I don't know, but they have the power. And if they have more interest in an individual than the 6,000 constituents that you're talking about in St. Joseph, then the people in St. Joseph got to make some sort of decisions, because if you are not looking out for me, I can't look out for you.
Amen.
You know, it's as simple as that. If the guy says, well, look, this is my property, when he bought that property, he would have bought it with all the acquired rights, because you acquire rights by prescription as well. Use and prescription is just that you acquire easement or something over a property over a number of years. People have been using that land for time immemorial. You cannot extinguish those rights just by putting up a barrier. Me, I would have kicked it down. But there are other things. Other people might want to go to the courts or what have you. But I'll give an example of prescription. You go and you see a piece of land there and you oblivious to who the owner is and you put a house on it. And you live there for years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And then somebody come and tell you, but that is my grandfather's land, we coming for it now. No, you have acquired rights by prescription. And all you have to do is apply to the court for the court to give you title to that land. Right? So that's prescription. Even though you don't, as long as you don't acknowledge an owner, you could the land becomes yours. Two, however, even if there is an owner and he has allowed people to traverse that thing over the years, when he sells it, he sell it with those rights for the public intact. So he just can't say, well, it's my land, no, I can block everybody. The law does not allow that. And the Prime Minister, who claims to be a lawyer, and the Attorney General, who claims to be a lawyer, must know that. Well, I know that, and I never went to the law school. All right, so this is a very easy fix if you want to fix it. And I suspect there is no will on the part of the government to fix the problem that they have created. Tenantry Freehold Purchase Act. Tom Adams went to Parliament, passed piece of legislation, and take away the land from the plantation owners and say, the people that live on this land for a lot of years and they're paying little monkey rent and thing, and people can't build a water toilet because the chattel houses. And he said, look, we're going to take away the rights of the landowner. I mean, not only that, but you can make the people sell it to you, buy it for you for 10 cents per square foot. No land in Barbados was valued at 10 cents a square foot back in 1981-82 when Tom came with the Tenantry Freehold Purchase Act. What he had to do, he had to amend the Constitution or alter the Constitution to make that act legal, because you cannot take away some person's property without compensation, and the compensation must be worth something. It just can't be pittance. But Tom Adams decided, well, the compensation can be pittance, and you can pay 10 cents a square foot. I know people who had substantial lots getting them for $1,800 because the law was changed to benefit the poor people who have been on those lands for years. The people at Bathsheba, Tent Bear, Joe's River, they have the same connection to the land down there as the people back in the Tenantry Freehold Purchase days. The problem is, and I will repeat, the problem is the government giving a foreign, non-national priority over the people of this country, over the people who have acquired rights? Because you acquire rights. Look, every year, when you pass by Sandy Lane, they put up some gates and block the road, and you got to travel all around. You know why? If they allow you to travel on those roads without hindrance, but then you acquire certain rights to them. So every year, I remember the planters at Vaughcluse used to block off the cart roads, because if you don't do that, the people who traverse those roads have a right. Then they acquire a right to that property. The people who traverse that road, and people talk about let me become what do they call it? A win-win. They already win. It is just for the people to assert to them and tell that man you can't do that. You know? But the people who are willing to say to them, these people, you can't do that, might be their friends.
Yeah.
And that is the problem we are having in Barbados today. We bring people from overseas, they fall in love with your sister or your aunt or your uncle or your niece, and then we can't tell them anything.
Yeah.
We have the Barbados for Barbadians first, and then anybody else after. And if your development infringes on the rights of Barbadians, we are not going to look for a win-win. You have to behave.
Yes.
As simple as that.
You know, because when you're talking about solutions, and I want to just to say to Mr. Boom, I know we've gone over his time, you know, but I know his love for country. He's here with us. But what I want to ask you, Mr. Gemot, is Mr. Gemot, I wanted to ask you a question. One of the things that we discussed on here last night is our doing a motorcade to come down to, you know, those of us who are not in St. Joseph. I live in St. Philip. Others are from St. Michael. To go down to St. Joseph on Sunday. Our plan is to park at St. Elizabeth's school, and from there we do we leave from there and do a motorcade with a microphone in a truck and educating the people within the villages, you know, there in St. Joseph, Bathsheba area. What are your thoughts about that? Do you think that is something that would work in that community? Do you think the people would welcome it, or would it be a noise, you know, like a noise pollution for them?
I think it is welcome, you see, because like most things, unless something happens, nothing happens. Philosophically, there's a thing. But people sometimes, it is only when there's action. I mean, there's a lot of physics. There's only a reaction can only come from an action, right? And I think that is welcome. That is welcome. The people need to realize that nothing comes from nothing. And unless they can't sit one day and then realize, hey, well, lady told me the other day, and there's an old lady who used to walk the beach, and she used to pick sea moss when the tide is low, right?
Yeah.
And she looked at me and she said, Steve, I want to go down there and go up to the river. I said, ma'am, you can't get up to there. She said, what? Now this is 85 years old. She said, what? She's still going to the beach every morning. She said, what? I said, there's some boulders there that prevent you can't climb up them boulders. She said, for true? No, this is sure that people are not aware. Huh? And there's a woman, I tell her, this is not a person who just goes there willy-nilly every 10 years, every time there's a surfing resort, This woman goes there almost every morning at 6 o'clock. And who used to go and pick moss with my son when he was a baby, when he was 3 years old. Right? So I'm saying that some people only understand things when you tell them, when you show them, right? So I think that is welcome, because another thing is, funny enough, we in this constituency, sometimes we swallow anything that's given to us. And I think that we need sometimes people to show us a better way, right? On that score, I welcome that, Marcia.
Yes.
One other thing, one important issue that I wanted to put to the Barbados government and to the people in this country, and this has to do with, in all of my years of sojourn, I've traveled all through the world, and I've seen, when Caswell started to speak, I was 17 years old, Caswell, when I was a tax officer. The guys used to laugh at me and tell me, my mother had to change the check when the government paid me. And I went through land acquisitions. I went through cartography, things like, as you say, rights of ways. I actually plot those on maps. I've seen prescribed forms with properties modified because of land acquisition, right of ways, cutting properties, and all of this. But one thing that I've never seen in my life in Barbados, and it is marvel to me. If you have a bridge and the government owns the bridge, does somebody else own the land under the bridge? And I ask myself, I mean, Maxine may be able to tell me this. Who owns the land under the Chamberlain Bridge?
I will figure the people of Barbados, but I can't swear because
Why say this? Or if you go to Lion Castle, if the man above owns the bridge, who owns the land under the bridge?
Let me explain.
Because wait a minute, before you say this, all severe plans are 2D, are one-dimensional, correct? Two-dimensional. All severe plans are two-dimensional. They only represent what is on the ground. So therefore, who owns the ground owns what is above the ground, correct?
should be.
So if government acquired back in the 60s, government acquired that bridge, land for that bridge, don't they own the land under the bridge?
Logic, based on the logic of it, and yeah, I would think so.
And if government acquired the land for the railroad back then, and I've been told by officers that that was done. Now nobody seems to go into the archives and pull out that land sale where government would have acquired those properties. Then therefore it says that there is a reserve on that bridge. Because otherwise, when the water authority comes to fix the water, do they need permission from a thing in order to fix a water pipe, a mains pipe? So it's Barbados 332 square feet. So you're saying that who lives on the upper section owns the land on the upper section, and who lives on the lower section owns the land on the lower section? Because they beg that question. It sounds stupid, but the thing is, right? Tell me, Caswell.
Let me tell you what you're asking. One, if you own the land, you own everything from the center of the earth to the sky.
I always
so that you own everything. So if you own this piece of land, that is why if there is extraction of petroleum or anything under the ground,
You gotta pay royalties.
you pay royalties to the people who own land above it. I used to work in the Solicitor General's office years ago, and I used to be the person paying out the petroleum quarter payments. That's how come I discover all about these things. You see, is the nice thing about being a rebel, you get transferred often, so you get to learn a lot of different things. And so I got to learn that. So you own. That is why you can't fly over people's country, you know. You can't fly over somebody's country because the country owns the all the space above it and all the land down to the center of the earth. So if government owns that property there, it owns everything above it and everything below it. So that's why I'm saying to you that I do not believe that the guy owns the property, but even if he did, government still has rights of eminent domain. And you see me just slip the thing from my ears. I was speaking to an attorney at law who was assuring me that what I just said on the program was absolutely correct. The time and the thing is, if you were traversing that area for 10 years without any hindrance, without any permission or anything, you have acquired rights of prescription of, and mind you, people were over that land and using it for time immemorial. So the owner, even if he were the owner, he can't stop them now, unless the government go there and extinguish those rights by legislation. You see, so
yeah,
this is somebody's friend with deep pockets, and they will the fellow down there who go and catching crayfish and thing. He's only a friend during election period, you know. And after that, he just becomes a nobody again. So you treat him bad, and then hope after you treat him bad for 5 years, then that little 4-week period or 3-week period before elections, you can make friends with him again, and you go on there, and people do not look out for their own best interest. Because right now, I am saying to the people of this country, this government so far has not shown that it was interested in the best interest of the people of this country. Everybody come from overseas, becoming lords and masters. You want to take away the properties from Bajans, and I'm not even talking about black Bajans, not even white Barbadians. They want to take away them and give it to people who want to buy savvy and also want to buy the old hospital. So because the old hospital, the old general hospital, Marcy went on the old general hospital. The before we had QEH, that building, that where they had the Ministry of Health before they moved Frank Walker building and on Jamet's Lane, where the Family Planning Association was.
Yes.
That used to be the old general hospital. They have people that don't want to buy that. So our government want to clear everybody from rights because they also want to buy that and the land over the other side of the road. So everything that a Barbadian wants to do, it must become secondary to what these international investors, either from Dubai or wherever the hell they come from. This nonsense has to stop. And if it means that Barbados has to shut down to stop this government from doing anything, then they must do that. But you see what has happened in this country. The Prime Minister has made friends with almost all of the unions. So the unions are not going to stand up for the people who pay them, the people who have them there to look out for their own interests, because she has made friends with all of them. Put one in the house, give one a duty-free car, this, but the next thing. So you understand what is happening.
Yeah.
The Barbadians have to stand up, right? The land is not the guys to do as he pleased with. People have acquired rights, even if it were his, and it is not his, because
Kazu, I think that the owners of the hotel, that who used to own the hotel, understood that, because they were not ancient. I spoke where should say it? Huh? I spoke to one of the guys who were who worked in the 60s, when in the early 70s, when government sent out 70 individuals to do a survey of entire, in which when they wanted to register the lands in Barbados and to prepare a cadastral map for Barbados. And one of these guys he's the one who told me that government had acquired the land then. And he told me that there was that the hotel never did any had any interest also in all of the lands on the right of that bridge. Should I say north of the bridge. And that is where you would find back then in the 1800s and 1700s, where the slaves would be washing and all the people washing their clothes back in that riverbed. So that was clear, as you say, that was clearly rites of passage in all forms on that property. So there was no trouble at all, because the hotel understood it, that the people could walk down the train line or walk over there and do everything down there and come up to the river and everything, right? When I recall back then, when there was a part of a spaceship that dropped right there on the riverbed, and I wanted to take up a piece of it and take it home. My daughter was 2 years old. It was pure stainless steel and silver, And within 2 days' time, the defense force came and cordoned off the entire area, because obviously once I moved down there, I go in down there and look. I'm not contaminated, by the way. And in 2 days it went. But on that same day, there was massive excavation of that area under the bridge. And that is the time in which they created the boulders. I recall of that area. And that was way long before this man came into the picture, you know. That was way long before that man came into the picture. That had to be something 2020 or something like that. Not 20, that would be 2000, maybe year 2000 or something around there, because my daughter was about 6 years old then, right? And that is when that reclamation started. And it wasn't the Barbados Water or the tractors, it was the it was the 10B, not the 10B, but the Edgewater tractors who started to do excavation and pushing the soil all the way down to form that reclamation. It's a reclamation, right? And I say that is that now that the boulders settle and they've been able to fill it up with some land and stuff like that now, it has now changed from riverbed to land. I understand you. I understand you perfectly when you speak about right-of-ways. The fact that we used to walk down there and go up to Teacup and Saucer. We used to go down to the riverbed. We used to go down to the beach when the whales and things come in dead. We would walk down through there. So we've been doing that for not only me. I mean, I tell you, I came into Barabashi when I've been doing it for 30-something years. And I came and I find people who've been doing it for 60 years before me. So that whole land, that whole thing is... I mean, I have a property in Britain still, and I had to put up a paling because I understand what you're saying. If I allow those people to walk at the side of my house, after 5 years, I can put up my paling. I will have to allow them access because you understand it. After a while, it becomes a way. It becomes a passage, a right away, right? So I understand all of that, and I'm wondering why is it that nobody is speaking to these issues. I hear you clearly articulate them. Nobody's speaking to the ownership of this bridge, of the acquisition of the lands that bought this bridge, that bought this train line. Nobody's speaking to the reserves on this train line. Nobody's speaking to the right-of-ways on this speed line. Nobody is talking about the setbacks and the easements and the environmental issues with trying to constrict the water, the riverway. It's all right to say, yes, come tomorrow, it can wash away. But that is not a government that we want. We don't want government to say, okay, do it. And when the seas come and George will break loose, it can liquidate the man house. I mean, if the man had heard that, the man would say, wait, what kind of people are you? You're allowing me to build these things when you all know that when the George River, when it breaks, be like 15 feet high. 15 feet high. If you walk up to there, look at the water mark. 15 feet high of water, about 30 feet wide. You can understand the torrents of that. That would move mountains. So you want to ask man to build a house, a wellness center right there? All I can say is well. Because the water comes down. I mean,
Mr. Gemma, Well, one moment there. Kimar has just joined us, and I know he said he's been listening the whole time, and I know it's been quite captivating, right, Kimar? Is there anything? I know we're about to close, but Kimar, it just went a different way tonight. Kimar, any thoughts there?
Do you want me to speak to Kimar?
No, I was asking Kimar if he had any thoughts, any questions
Kimar.
or comments. I don't know if he's hearing me.
Hi.
Oh yeah, hi.
Hi,
Hello.
good night.
Good night.
Hey, Kimar, good night.
Hey, everybody.
I thought I was gonna miss you tonight.
No, I was enjoying the discussion from Mr. Jammett tonight. So I just tuned on to give my support to the cause, you know. So but that is a very serious matter. I just say don't expect answers from the officials because these type of things happen usually overnight, and we only find out after the fact. But I think we should preserve our national heritage, George River. But as I said last night, if you could sell the PDF base, which is included in the UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the authors of development to change the landscape, you would do anything, you know. Right? And in the name of investment, all types of deals through the Ministry of Planning and Development is now in the hands of the Planning and Development Board, which was appointed by the minister, which is the Prime Minister. Right? So that is the structure of government right now, and it's unfortunate that Barbados has gone up for sale like this. But I just want to tell Mr. Jammett to hold firm and to continue to represent for the persons who use George River.
Thank you, Kimar. And let me say that I laud young people like Kimar who has heart of a lion, right? I hear him all through. I've seen it. We've spoken at him, I like his sense of his duty, his knowledge, and I mean he's on the right path. You know, there's the kind of future people that we need: people who can see things and who can say things, and one needs to listen to such people. Don't discard young people. I'm a young too, but discarding people because they're young and they're hearing gray and so forth, and that you say they have nothing to offer. And you keep regurgitating the same people all the time. Every time you go on the board, you're seeing the same person, the same name coming up, and the same things happening. Corruption going on. We're seeing overruns. We're seeing and people all of them just sitting back there and drinking the juice and the tea times. Maxine, I've been to all these meetings, you know. Listen, I got so tired at one point in time that I really felt like I should not be going to these PPC meetings and these things that every time you get juice or orange juice and tea times and lunch and things, all again is a big belly. You know what I mean? And people discussing things like laundry, clothes, and soap. What do you call it? Soap. What do you call it? This thing about giving them things for soap thing and to buy clothes and all these different things. You tie me up technically and all these different little wishy-washy issues, and I got tired and I had to resign. Because I didn't come there for that. I wasn't wasting my time discussing washing allowance and clothing allowance and soap allowance. A big technical crew, and we discussing such matters. And that taking up till 2 o'clock, and then we finish. We come back. We go to lunch. We get chicken and all this stuff. That wasn't my time. It's so funny.
You want even serious issue.
You know what I'm speaking about.
True.
You know what I'm speaking about. These morning PM meetings at 7 o'clock, we out your bed to go up to a place to sit down and wait for a minister to come. And then all you get is tea times and cheese biscuits and these kind of things. So it's really disheartening.
You have the meat and matter to discuss.
But no, the thing about being serious, I'm a serious person, and I really value my time. And I think I have that in whatever I get, I try to do my best, right? And I'm here, I'm talking about serious issues. The issue is before us is disenfranchising. How can people disenfranchise a constituency like that, and everybody keeping quiet?
Yeah.
And
thank God for people like yourself, and thank God for Victor, and you know, this March, this that is being planned, which is the Motorcade being planned, and there's also you know, a cookout that is being planned as well, and we have the chief, the guy who does, you know, the cooking, set up the wood fire and everything. He's trying to get in to tell us what we are to bring, and he's having trouble coming on. So tonight is really a different kind of show. We welcome. Listen, we welcome that. That is the. You would ask me earlier about what type of I think it was I know it was Maxine. So I asked me what type of development that we would want to see, what kind of activity we want to see, and I think that is the kind of things that we had before. Well, I went to a place called Ansleray in St. Lucia. It was something like Bathsheba to me. And I was in a hotel with some went to a conference, a World Bank conference on behalf of Barbados government. And at the night I felt kind of thing, and I told the taxi, look, check this down where the action is, man. Too much old people in this place. So I went up, and I went up to this place, the Ansleray, and they had this fishing village of people, all this roast fishing, fishing, well. Who knows about this thing? You all, Marcy, this thing, Ansleray, this fishing.
He should know.
But it's like Bathsheba.
Yes, this is the authenticity, the retention of the basic character of the place, you know.
The character of the place, the kind of things that you want to see. These are the kind of things that you mean you go fishing village and you can't even get a piece of fish. You can't even see a man with a fish on a thing. Every morning the guys out there catching sea cat. Right? We need to have something that is of our own making, of our own bringing. We don't want a hotel that can bring caviar and turkey butter baked in corn and all these different things. You know what I mean? And corn flour and all these kind of things and
So,
caviar.
Mr. Gemot, you're all for the cookout, and because that is,
Yeah,
and I remember
it brings back.
Yeah,
It brings back what used to happen before when we used to take
What
the
used
fish
to
and
happen.
roast the fish and seawater and
Well,
all that.
Mr. Barrow is here to talk to us quickly. Guys, bear with us about the cookout because this has to do with action. We talk about action, with solutions, and so we want to get together on Sunday at 2 o'clock. St. Elizabeth Primary School. Get to there. St. Elizabeth Primary School at 2 o'clock. Let me welcome Mr. Barrow, sir. Welcome. And
Welcome,
we
Mr.
literally have
Barrow.
5 minutes. 5 minutes, Mr. Barrow. Talk to us
Mr.
all
Welcome.
about food.
Yes, I really appreciate being on the program. Thank you for that hearty welcome. And yes, I am all part of the community effort to make sure that nothing is taken from the residents of the St. Joseph area, mainly the Joes River Gully. And one of the activities we intend to do to bring the community together and have a first-hand look at what is actually going on is to have a cookout using the said area. We have done this before on more than one occasion. And would you believe that tourists who pass that area for an evening stroll actually fitted nicely in with us and actually partake in the meal that we prepared. We had some Bajan food there, some soup. As they say, tourism is our business. Let's play our part, and we definitely played our part. You know, we had some residents from the Hillswick and Gagshill area who came around and just join in. It was a fun afternoon. It wasn't planned over any long period of time, but the good news is that the residents in the area heard about it and they came around, and we intend to do the same thing. Only difference is we want to do it much bigger and much better than the last time. Okay? Yeah. While I say that, those who want to come, we can let you know now that you can bring a few supplies. We like to keep things Bajan and use Bajan foods. We want to cook some fish, mainly some fish soup. Believe me, it is awesome. Some fish broth. And you can contribute things like, potatoes, yams, plantain, whatever will be in a good Bajan soup. Even some corn, some flour. We're going to do some dumplings. I think last time we had over 170 dumplings or something like that. But it went in no time. So I'm appealing to those who can make it. Just come out, make that effort. Meet us at St. Elizabeth School for 2 o'clock. And then we'll move on to the Joes River Gully where you'll have a first-hand look. And then you'll fellowship with us and have a meal in the Joes River Gully. And all this is part of an effort to bring the community together and let's see exactly what is happening in the area and what we are trying to do.
I assure you.
And I am smiling from ear to ear. I want to just quickly summarize what it is that you are, because time is going, what it is that you're asking for. And ask Mr. Franklin, can people drop off some of these items by Friday at the union, at Unity Workers Union?
By all means.
So
Just bring them on the offices on 6th Avenue, Belleville, number 5, 6th Avenue, Belleville. If I'm not there, my assistant will collect them. Just tell her you bring stuff for the cookout. Mind you, I will bring a healthy appetite. Okay?
And I will add a couple of breadfruits to it.
Okay. So we're saying, folks, so we're asking for potatoes, yam, plantains, flour for dumpling, fish for the fish soup, and there's breadfruit, whatever you normally would put in
And
soup.
so
Just bring
That's good.
something, put something in the pot, and
Cow heel.
you're gonna do that by going to Unity Workers Union, number 5, 6th Avenue, Belleville. All right. And you go there, you drop the things off, and then we will, these guys, they're very organized there in St. Joseph. They will organize on how to get the stuff to St. Joseph, so that you don't, we're not waiting on you to bring it on the day of the event.
Right.
We bring it days before. They can prepare themselves and so on.
Le-
McDonald, Barrow, do you need
Liana
pots?
Bell is asking a question.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, let me try and find it. But do you have any pots? Do you need pots, Mr. Barrow?
Yes, I do have, but if anybody wish to walk with maybe another one, maybe if you have 2 extras, it's best to be prepared rather than under prepared in case we have a large crowd. We don't want anybody to leave without having a taste of that lovely fish soup
So you
on the
need,
beach. Yeah.
because a lot of people are going to come. I know last time I was told that you catered for 20 something. I believe that we're going to have more than 20 something people there, because we have, so we need pots. So do you have large pots? Put your names on it. Make sure your name is on your pot. And if you have labels, any utensils you want to lend, but put your name on it, please, and you bring them to Mr. Caswell's Union, Unity Workers Union, number 5, 6th Avenue, Belleville, and we will make sure that the people in St. Joseph will take care of your stuff. But I believe we're going to need a lot of pots, Mr. Barrow. We're going to
Okay,
need
great.
pots. Yeah.
Why we say that? Let's have some garbage bags and some soup containers, some bowls.
Yeah.
And the garbage bags, we're going to clean up afterwards. We want no one to leave anything there except your footprint. Okay? Everything must go. So we'll see
Yes.
you guys on Sunday, 2 o'clock, St. Elizabeth School.
Yes. Somebody wanted to know what bus that you take to St. Elizabeth School. And somebody says the Bathsheba bus. I don't know if anybody can confirm that. Is that true?
Yeah, Bathsheba bus. Bathsheba
Yes.
bus.
Or van. Or van, yeah?
Or the van.
Or the
And
Bathsheba van.
yeah, and we could try to carpool as well. So we'll discuss that some more and see if we can have people, if you're not driving, you meet at a certain place. I know last time we had I think it was a 14-seater van, so we'll look into that. I don't know that people who are not driving and they want to be in, they want to go and want to be in the van, want to get some transportation, or we could just carpool and get people there. Okay, I think that would be great. Anything else you want to say, Mr. Barr, before we close?
Just want to say that we really intend to make this a reality. We want to see action, and my job basically is to make sure that we make the community come together and find ways, to bring back that old time bonding that was once in our communities that is missing right now. It is so important for us. We don't want the youth to be led astray or anything like that. And I mean, it's so simple. The Bathsheba area, we really have been brought together by fishing activity, both in the seawater of itself and in the gully, as Matthew had mentioned earlier. And now we add one more thing to it, 2 more things rather, which is the hiking and the cooking. So, let's come out and have a good time, and it's a start. It's a start for a good ending.
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
Wonderful. Somebody wants to know if you have firewood.
Firewood is plentiful in the area. Don't even worry about firewood.
Okay.
We got
We could
more
get
than
some. We could get some of that wood from the place in my building up there.
As well.
yeah.
We can put a bag of firewood on your back.
Yeah.
Ay, ay.
Marcia,
Yeah,
I like
Yes,
Fun with the
yes.
collecting the firewood, actually.
There's a contact number for Unity. Person's asking there's a contact number for Unity.
yes. You can
435-0416. That is the office number. 435-0416. And of course, you can always call me on my cell or WhatsApp me, because it's easier to get WhatsApp because I'm busy in my meetings and I can't answer the phone in meetings. So it is 256-4706. It's better to WhatsApp because I'm a lot of meetings, so I don't get the calls
Repeat
sometimes.
that last one.
256-4706. Office is on the screen, and the WhatsApp or cell phone is 256-4706. And please, if you do not put when you're WhatsApping me, don't put no kind of fancy names, and so I will not tell you some names I see calling me, and I'm embarrassed by some of them. And so if you're gonna call, use a real name, because if you use any fancy names, I just zip past them.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you so much, Mr. Franklin, for allowing us to bring the supplies there. And we want to organize ourselves. And I know Mr. Barrow, they're going to have everything organized and sorted out for us, you know, and so on. So we're going to start all the permissions, getting that tomorrow. You know, it's a short week. So we're going to get that going and be ready for Sunday. What a night we had. Didn't go, Heather. I know you had a whole presentation, but we're going to have to do it another night. It didn't go the way that we went. Kimar only came on to say one line. It was just a different night. And I think, yes, I think that, you know, those that persons that Mr. Gemma talked about who use that river and so on, you know, or poor parents, they're almost like they're here, they're guiding this process, you know, and they want us to talk about this. If I had a feeling, so we kind of just went with it. All right. So let me just thank everybody for joining us. Oh, the shirt. I forgot, and I'm seeing, is this Mr. Oh Lord, I tell you, we're not one for tonight, you know. Who is this? Is this Mr. Hello, good night, sir. Good night.
Yeah, good night. Yeah, good night, Lois. Yeah, that's the shirt, not boat here. You're on the ball. You're on the ball. Keep it going.
Yes, Mr. Victor, tell us about these shirts, please. Can I get one of these?
Well, our president, as McDonald said, you know, those shirts were purchased for that particular event, but he has the screen, so I think he would have given me a list in terms of the prices, so we can as long as you get your shirt, he should be able to organize to get that print into your white shirt, so that we don't have any difficulty with the sizes over the course of time. So you go down to S.Y. Adams, you know, just buy a white shirt, give it to Caswell. We get it off to the screen print. You get your stuff in, and we're ready to go.
Oh, so that's another thing, that people can bring their white shirt, label it properly, and then they pick it up in Joe's River at St. Elizabeth Street.
Precisely. Get everything to Caswell. The shirt's there. And McDonald made the arrangement with the gentleman who does the screen printing, and we just put that print in, and you collect them at the school. Just change your shirt there, and be ready to rumble.
Yes, man, I love it. Well, I'm definitely going to get a white shirt, you know, and it make it easier because it's so expensive, you know, Mr. Gemma, things are so expensive right now. So instead of you know, paying all this money for a shirt, if you have a white shirt at home, bring the shirt, label it, and they will put the information on the shirt, and you pick it up down at St. Elizabeth's School. So everything is at the Unity Workers Union, number 5 6th Avenue, and the numbers are there in the chat. Go through the chat, it's right there. I think we'll put it up again, that you can call for more information. All right. All right. Well, we're not even going to go with any final words tonight. We've said all of our final words. I just want to thank everybody for being on here tonight, Mr. Gemma. It was a real pleasure having you
It was,
tonight.
yes,
Feel your
yes.
heart. Feel your heart.
Mhm.
I thought you're coming on with all this technical stuff. You came on for a different reason, and we could feel your heart, sir, and your love for St. Joseph, and we really, really appreciate that. And we want to thank, let me thank the guests first, Mr. McDonald, for joining us as well, and giving us all that details about the soup and the fish soup. I'm tasting it all now. And and of course, Victor, who was on with us last night. That show, I'm telling you, as far as it was almost 8,000 views the last time I checked. Dr.
Wow.
Ferdinand. And Dr. Ferdinand, I will leave you to thank the rest of our guests. And Dr. Ferdinand is my co-host, so I will let you thank the rest of everybody else and close out the show. Go ahead.
I just want you to close up with I pretend I just pretend to care about
Yes,
people.
okay. I will ask Dave to have it for you.
Well, to be honest with
Go
you, I
ahead.
mean, in our circles, Marcy, we would say that this was a spirit-led session.
Yes.
We would normally plan and follow a particular process, but I want to say that the information that has been shared tonight is absolutely fabulous and priceless. From Maxine, thank you, Maxine, for expanding and detailing so well the matter pertaining to the housing between yourself and Caswell. I mean, it's just an embarrassment, a total embarrassment. I'm ashamed of my government. I'm embarrassed. I don't even know if I can find the words with regards to that. But I really want to say thanks to you and appreciate so very much, especially that print. Beautiful. I love it. And I have to get a similar print next time I get on this show. Mr. Gemma, it was a pleasure just sitting and listening to you. Brought back so many memories. All my childhood. I can still see myself running around in short pants, all around in Bathsheba, and all down by Atlantis, all down there. I tell you, thank you so very much for the education you gave us as well tonight. That was absolutely fantastic. I really want to say that. Heather, it's so good to see you on Monday. You shifted to another night. I don't know why. I don't know why you allowed Marcia to lure you in that manner. But I really miss
Circumstances.
Yeah, I know. But it was really nice seeing you back here again tonight. I see Lou, but Mr. Lou, thanks for jumping in there at the end with the shirts. Mr. Barrow, I have to go now and see if I got breadfruits on the tree, because I think I put myself in a spot talking about them breadfruits. So I gotta go outside and see if I can find a couple out there. All right. Well, thank you so much for even the short time. And I think I'm happy it was a short time because I haven't had dinner yet. And so I am happy that you weren't able to talk too much about the soup and all that kind of stuff. But honest to God, I can handle that. Okay. So praise God. And then, of course, my dear friend and colleague, of course, Kimar. Kimar, is he still here? Is he gone already? Yeah. My dear friend and colleague, the General. Caswell, appreciate you so much, man. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the legal education. It's a good thing you didn't go to law school. It's a real good thing. And Marcia, let me just say, it was nice having you from the beginning. It's not a normal experience for me to have Marcia jumping in from the very, very beginning. Normally, she would join me, but this evening, I had the distinct honor of having her on from the very beginning of the show, and that was nice to have. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having all of you on board with us tonight. I know we can't take the time, Marcia, to give the last-minute wrap-ups because we're at 10:24 already. And knowing some of the people here that can wrap up in 1 minute, no matter how much they try. So I'm not even going there. So thank you all for being here tonight. And of course, we want to thank the loyal opposition. all of you that have joined us. Over 1,400 we had tonight on this show. And we really appreciate every single one of you taking the time in your comments. I've been watching those comments as we've gone through the night. I tell you, thank God. And a lot of people are waking up, and we really appreciate you guys supporting the show. So until what? Wednesday night, Marcia? Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, same location. Looking forward to having you all join us. And remember the Motorcade on Sunday, 2 p.m. And if I'm reading it correctly, no, I'm not pretending. And if I'm reading it correctly, Marcia, it's going to end up with the cookout. Is that correct? If I'm reading it right? Okay. Well, I think there's one motorcade I can definitely come to, boy, because I can be bringing my appetite.
Issue that we had there. I think you would have had some
I don't know who had that issue, but it must have been Marcia. Anyway. Well, God bless you guys. Have a great night. It's nice having you all with us. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Pretending to be good. I pretending to be good, just pretending to be good. I pretending to be good, I just pretending to care about people. 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 Pretending, and I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good, and I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people.
That shit. That is the number one on the charts.
Good night.